20 years ago, after extraterrestrial monsters invaded Earth, the countdown to humanity's destruction began. A sea of flames engulfed the city with dragon-like monsters flying above it. Significant warriors decided to stand against them. Amongst them was the Dragon Emperor, Kabna. A handful of warriors, having decided to burn themselves for humanity, stood against an army led by the ruler of the extraterrestrials. The ruler of the extraterrestrials starts chanting out a spell, floating above the sea of flames. Finishing his chant, he opens his mouth and a dark red energy starts to gather in between his teeth. The ruler finally releases the energy, demolishing everything in its path. The energy beam burns along the ground in a straight line. A man rushes out from smoke, cursing at the ruler. This man is Lee Do-hyuk. Rushing towards the ruler, a person stops him. That person is Kabna. He is gravely injured, losing an arm after that energy blast. With two other people standing behind Kabna and Do-hyuk, Kabna says that the ruler is impossible to fight against with humanity's current strength, and only one option is left for them. A woman standing behind them pulls out a stone. It is the stone of temporal regression, the last hope of humanity after 20 years of war. Kabna explains how only one person can use the stone. Kabna says that the person to regress back has to be Lee Do-hyuk, which catches him off guard with Kabna's sudden decision. The other man remarks that if it's Do-hyuk, the greatest genius hunter in history, then he can do it. Following him, with tears in her eyes, the woman presents the stone to Do-hyuk. With gritted teeth, Do-hyuk weakly agrees to it. The stone activates, floating over his hands while sparking out purple energy threads. The stone rises higher, shining purple brighter. Suddenly, a small purple beam pierces Do-hyuk through his chest. The stone shines brightly over the sea of flames like a star. Do-hyuk lies on the woman's lap with a purple-colored hole in his chest, right where his heart should be at. Smirking through pain, Kabna says how Do-hyuk will have to handle all the hardships alone from now on. The woman speaks up that there's one thing, and that is to put up a last fight against the extraterrestrial ruler. Agreeing with her, they charge at him, into their final battle. Do-hyuk wakes up in a small apartment room, half asleep, surprised that he succeeded in regressing, thanking God for regressing him back to the perfect time. He looks at himself, realizing he needs to train his body and gather supplies to survive the outbreak. Putting his coat on, with a determined look in his eyes, he decides that this time he'll awaken along with the first outbreak. 7 months later at Bukhan Mountain, bulked-up Do-hyuk stands in front of a huge earth wall. With a steel crowbar in his hands, Do-hyuk thinks to himself, though his current body is nothing compared to his peak, but it does meet the minimum requirements. Standing there, he thinks to himself that a wormhole will open on the rock in front of him, leading to the release of an immense surge of mana. Like a baptism, it'll forcibly unlock the human body, engraving an awakening circuit for the passage of mana. Tightening his grip on the steel crowbar, he thinks to himself the problem would be the scouting forces that'll appear out of the wormhole, and in case of Korea, it's going to be giant ants and quad cockroaches. Remembering how weak they are compared to his prime, but currently for newly awakened hunters, even 6 would struggle to just defeat one. Clenching his fists, he starts counting down from 5, hoping with his experience he'd be able to handle them. In a punching stance, he finishes counting down. He rushes towards the earth wall. He freezes in his tracks, confused as nothing happened. Confused, he reassures himself that an error is possible and decides to wait a little bit longer. And so, night fell. 10 hours have gone by. Do-hyuk kneeling in the raining curses about what's going on. Clenching his fist and gripping on the steel crowbar tighter, he reassures himself of having gotten the date wrong and decides to come again tomorrow. Eventually, tomorrow turned into a week. Hikers passing by suggested that he go back home. And eventually a month has passed, and Do-hyuk earned the nickname of Stone Buddha of Bukhan Mountain, with small plants starting to grow out of him. And soon half a year passed away. Do-hyuk appeared on news as a monk who's been meditating for half a year on Bukhan Mountain. Yet the world remained unbelievably peaceful. 3 months later, at a construction site working there was Do-hyuk. He became a manual labor. Remembering his past life, known by many names, having earned countless titles, was Do-hyuk. Yet now, that exact same Do-hyuk after regressing is being called a laborer. Regardless, for the past 6 months the outbreak never happened. No alien species, no awakened individuals, none existed in this current world. Having no other choice but to accept it, this Earth is different from the one Do-hyuk knew. Do-hyuk never thought he'd end up in a parallel universe. Walking through the streets, Do-hyuk thinks to himself that it's great news for the people of this world that the outbreak never happened. Realizing all the struggles he went through with his comrades, though they were all in vain, looking at the peaceful world in front of his eyes, he decides that's how it should be. Feeling the warm sunlight falling over him, he thinks maybe he can enjoy this peace, be it for a little while. Hearing his phone ring, he takes it out of his pocket to see. His face turns pale after reading the notification. It's about his overdue loans and various deposits he needs to make. A little while later in the Lee household, in an irritated tone, Do-hyuk's younger sister Lee Jian asks Do-hyuk about what he's been up to lately. Jian, in an annoyed look on her face, lectures Do-hyuk about all the weird stuff he's been buying for the past year. Holding his collar, cornering him, Jian starts lecturing him about what happened a year ago, then him spending millions hoarding supplies, about how worried their parents were for him to be acting like that. Cornered, Do-hyuk thinks to himself that he didn't consider the world ending up this perfectly either. Do-hyuk goes into a flashback, sitting around a bonfire with Kabna. He remembers their plan on what to do first after regressing. First to borrow as much money as possible from whatever source is available to prepare for the outbreak. Do-hyuk follows on what to do next. With a carefree grin, Kabna replies nonchalantly as to who cares about what comes after. Kabna continues that once the outbreak happens, with the world falling apart, who'd even go around collecting debts? But the world didn't end, and Do-hyuk can't go around ignoring all the money he borrowed. With a crying-like look on his face, he remains there as his sister continues to lecture him. Letting go of him, she reminds him how he's even doing manual labor to pay off his debt. She then offers to pay him if he helps with her streaming. Jian tells him how she needs to beat a 2-player game this time, and how she needs Do-hyuk's help to accomplish that, to which Do-hyuk carefully listens. Do-hyuk replies that he has never played a game before. Jian reminds Do-hyuk about how good he always was at sports and stuff, and besides how she doesn't have anyone else to ask. Getting up, questioning how much money could be even made from streaming, to which Jian replies, 15 million won. Do-hyuk was shocked to hear that he could earn such an amount. With light shining from behind Jian, she exclaims that even though her channel's been only running for a few months, she is already making 15 million won a month, and that she's willing to give him half of that. And so Do-hyuk decided to join his sister, currently all geared up, ready to dive into the game. And so they dive in. They were playing the game called It Kills 2, a super hardcore combat, adventure, horror game infamous for being the graveyard of newbies. They both stood against a haunted mansion, lightning falling down behind it creating an atmosphere of terror, and so the game begins. Jian sticks close to Do-hyuk, scared of the sudden change in atmosphere provided by the game. Shivering from terror, Jian continues to hold on to Do-hyuk, while Do-hyuk thinks to himself that a house like that scary mansion is cozy enough for a good sleep. Slowly walking through the entrance, they continue walking towards the stairs leading to the main door. After Do-hyuk puts his leg on a single staircase, an in-game notification suddenly pops up which scares Jian enough to hide behind Do-hyuk. Do-hyuk, playing a game for the first time. Unable to understand the notification, he slides it, skipping the tutorial. Terrified, Jian pulls on Do-hyuk's hair and cheek, annoyed by him skipping the tutorial with the game being difficult enough as it is. Laughing idiotically, Do-hyuk says that he acted without thinking. Pissed at Do-hyuk, Jian simply blames herself for trusting a newbie like Do-hyuk. Working up a smile to charm her viewers, Jian turns and asks her viewers to give them some tips on the game, while Do-hyuk, standing in the back, notices something. Looking at the comments, with viewers providing helpful tips, Jian lights up a bit while Do-hyuk keeps looking at something glowing. In-game notification window pops up, with Do-hyuk choosing reality level difficulty. Hearing that through the notification window, Jian freezes up. Angry and scared, Jian leaps and grabs Do-hyuk by his shirt. She curses at him for what he just did. Confused, Do-hyuk replies that he was just checking the doorknob and something strange then just popped up. Crouching in disbelief, speaks up that the amount bet on first clear is already over 1 million won, while Do-hyuk stands behind her with a face that depicts regret at what he accidentally did. After getting a high pay order from her viewers, Jian and Do-hyuk feel much more encouraged now and decide to stop despairing. With a Chad-like expression, Do-hyuk opens the door to the haunted mansion. Suddenly, a dead body appears hanging upside down in front of them, making Jian scream from the sudden jump scare as she clings onto Do-hyuk. The viewers suggest they check behind the hanging corpse, scared and unable to make a move. Jian tells Do-hyuk to do it, finding an axe and a pistol from the corpse. Do-hyuk decides to keep the axe while handing the pistol to Jian, to which she replies about not being confident with guns. Do-hyuk tells her that she'll have to hit the enemies directly if she decides on the axe. Terrified of doing that, she decides to keep the gun. Suddenly, a swarm of monsters jump down the stairs, surprising Jian and Do-hyuk in their tracks. These monsters are called the neck huggers. Putting her hands over her ears, Jian, hopeless and scared, jumps back. Do-hyuk charges forward towards the monsters, attacking them, while Jian falls to the floor with her hands still over her ears. Gritting his teeth, Do-hyuk grabs onto and then slashes through a neck hugger's blade-like hand. With quick movement, he pierces the neck hugger through its mouth with its own blade-like hand. After defeating one neck hugger, piercing through its mouth with its own blade-like hand, Do-hyuk stood over it as other neck huggers dashed towards Do-hyuk. Gritting his teeth with veins popping from his neck, he decides to make a dash. Do-hyuk dashes towards the neck-huggers as they run towards him, dashing forward while cutting through them like paper. Their blood splatter over Do-hyuk's hand and face. Letting out a sigh of relief, he jerks the blood off his axe after he single-handedly cut through those neck-huggers. With his face covered in blood, Do-hyuk turns back looking grim, speaking to Jeon that she must have been really surprised by Do-hyuk's actions. Scared by his grim-looking face covered in blood, she screams and perfectly shoots Do-hyuk right in the middle of his forehead. She then runs towards him, scared, apologizing for shooting him, and with Do-hyuk dying, their mission fails. Black Oak, a streamer specializing in horror games, finds it unbelievable how easily Do-hyuk defeated those neck-huggers in reality mode. He was left astounded seeing Do-hyuk take down 4 neck-huggers with just an axe. Do-hyuk and Jeon respawn at the main door. Jeon awkwardly apologizes for shooting Do-hyuk, while he just stands there really pissed. Do-hyuk turns to Jeon and reassures her that it's okay, that it was a mistake just then. Gritting his teeth in anger, he presses finger on her temple and says how he shouldn't have given an idiot like her a gun. Jeon, knowing her fault, just apologizes without any resistance. Without speaking any further, Do-hyuk warns her that there's going to be no next time for her, and they are going to go faster this time, saying that he advances. Slicing through the neck-huggers like paper, all while he holds Jeon in one hand, he advances forward. Jeon was left speechless how Do-hyuk handled them all by himself. Do-hyuk speaks how they should divide roles for the next chapter of the game. Do-hyuk continues that he'll take care of firearms, combat, item farming, and scouting, to which Jeon asks what she's going to do. With a pissed-off expression, Do-hyuk straightforwards tells Jeon to simply just cheer on him from the back. Jeon replies, how can she just cheer on when it's her replies? Ignoring her rants, Do-hyuk steps forward. Opening up the door, Do-hyuk stands at the entrance as he notices something in front of him. A huge muscular monster covered in blood emanating a green poison-like aura around his body stands there. This monster is Brute. It kills Two's mid-boss. Scared as hell, Jeon pushes Do-hyuk forward, shouting it's out. Caught off balance by that push, as Do-hyuk is about to fall, the monster charges forward towards them, ready to punch. Do-hyuk skillfully balances himself back with his hand right below the monster, near its leg. In that position, Do-hyuk's sweep kicks the monster leg, making it lose balance and fall forward. As the monster falls on its face, Do-hyuk jumps on the monster. He holds the axe up in his hands, about to swing it down. Calling it a piece of cake, he swings down his axe, stabbing the monster's skin. After the axe hits the monster's neck, Do-hyuk realizes that this monster has a thick skin, and that his swing was too shallow. Seeing how it didn't work, Do-hyuk slightly jumps and kicks down on the axe all the way through its neck. With Do-hyuk still on the monster, it falls to the floor with a loud noise that surprises Jeon. Jeon was astonished at what she just witnessed. Seeing the viewer's comments on how it isn't that easy taking down a brute, Do-hyuk simply replies with how easy it was to him. Viewers suspect Do-hyuk of being a veteran and ask him to show his status window, while Jeon simply just says that Do-hyuk really is a beginner. With the viewers asking for it, Do-hyuk opens up his status window for them to see. The status window shows how long he has played the game. The viewers find it hard to believe that Do-hyuk's status is 134. While it's 125 for a pro-level player, 140 being the human limit, and 147 being the world record holder, Do-hyuk just stands there expressionless. Looking at his detailed stats, Do-hyuk thinks to himself that training for the apocalypse is finally coming handy, while Jeon, standing behind him, thinks how the loan sharks exploited him for his body to get that good. With a crying expression, Jeon continues if they even fed him there and says that she'll treat him better from now. Suddenly, Black Oak makes a donation, which leads both Do-hyuk and Jeon to look up at the notification window. A viewer speaks up how Black Oak was the first person who discovered the hidden route by killing Brute, else the story was meant to progress with Brute capturing the player. The viewer continues how it took 7 attempts for Black Oak to barely clear it. Do-hyuk says that if you're not good at gaming, that stuff can happen. Surprised by his comment, Black Oak laughs nervously. Having pre-planned on just watching them from the sidelines, Black Oak changes his mind on how he might have to turn this into content. Black Oak asks them if he can set up a mission for them, saying that he wants to stream it. Jeon follows, asking what kind of mission. The mission asks them to clear the game using only the hand axe, and if they clear it within the given condition, he'll reward them with 1,000,000 won. In return, he wants to stream it. Jeon jumps in excitement at the offer, while Do-hyuk simply just gives a thumbs up. Other viewers speak up on how different sorts of monsters appear, and to clear them with just a hand axe is basically asking not to clear it at all. Realizing that maybe he demanded a bit too much, Black Oak decides to add in a steel crowbar or a chainsaw instead. Before Black Oak changes the conditions, Do-hyuk, wanting to accept the hand axe mission, accidentally pressed the success button for accepting the mission. Without anything to say for himself, he holds Jeon in one hand and barges through another door. A huge, man-like monster with a chainsaw for its right hand emerges in front of them, This monster is a grande, the second mid-boss monster. It rips players apart at a high speed. Looking at the monster that just appeared, Black Oak thinks to himself, even getting brushed up against that chainsaw will reduce a player HP to near death, and its pattern changes are complex, but it's possible to draw aggro with the different advanced bullets. While one player draws the aggro, another player can focus on its weak points. Doing that back and forth is an official strategy which is necessary for a two-person party to defeat a grande. Black Oak comments on Do Hyuk's insane playstyle as he slides in between a grande's legs, slicing one leg with his hand axe. Balancing himself after that slide, Do Hyuk speaks to himself that back in the day, if they didn't have weapons, they'd fight with their teeth if needed. Holding the axe above his chest, he continues speaking to himself how he was the best when it came to hunting monsters. While the monster is about to swing his chainsaw, Do Hyuk speaks to himself, comparing his experience as a hunter and the strategies from Full Dive. Crouching back, dodging the chainsaw, he continues how they are just kids' warplay strategies. Pulling himself back up from the crouching position, he slashes through the monster's thigh, speaking to himself how he just needs to break its source of mobility to counter the fast attacks. He then gets back up, then kicks the monster's, messing up its center of balance, making it fly back with his kick. Do Hyuk then dashes forward, aiming to strike at every humanoid monster's weakness, their neck. As he gets to swing his axe, the monster puts its arm, taking the swing with its big muscular arm, making it stuck in between its muscles. The monster then swings his chainsaw arm down at Do Hyuk, while John calls out to him behind, with worry showing on her face. As the monster swings its chainsaw arm, Do Hyuk jumps up and dodges it. Coming down with a huge force, he lands on the chainsaw, breaking it. Gritting his teeth, Do Hyuk says, "If the enemy's defense gets stronger, then all you need to do is break through with an even stronger attack." Following his words, he swings forwards, cutting through its hand and neck in a single strike. John leaps forward, putting her hands up in the air, shimmering brightly on how they won. A viewer asks Do Hyuk how he did that. Do Hyuk says that first, to analyze their footing axis and muscle movements, target the leg as they concentrate strength during an attack. That way they can seal its speed. Then read the texture of their muscles, letting oneself to predict their attack timing and direction. After that, dodge them like he did earlier, then follow up with a powerful strike. He also comments on how easy it is to dodge a bullet by watching the muzzle direction, and if that's not possible, then block it with an axe. Jian notices a path leading to somewhere and informs Do Hyuk of it. Walking down the stairs, Do Hyuk happily chats with the viewers, while Jian finds another hand axe and informs Do Hyuk of it. After taking the axe from Jian, Do Hyuk starts boasting how he could take down so many monsters wielding dual axes. Jian suddenly cuts his speech short, telling him to look behind him. They stand in front of a horde of enhanced zombies charging towards them. Do Hyuk dashes into the horde, swinging his dual axes, slashing through the enhanced zombies like paper. He dashes through them, cutting them down skillfully, making it seem too easy. On seeing the viewers' comments on how he's easily cutting through them, he demonstrates what he had earlier told them: dodge, then follow with a powerful strike. Seeing the viewers' comments, while gritting his teeth, Do Hyuk decides to put in a bit more effort to it. Combining two skills, whirlwind and charge, he leaps forward, slicing through the enhanced zombies. Spinning like a whirlwind, killing the zombies, he stops and starts to vomit from spinning too much. Wiping his mouth, he reads a comment from a viewer recommending him to rather play Rise of Valhalla, to which he asks if that's another game or so. Jian calls out to Do Hyuk with a blood-soaked diary in her hand. She says that she found a clue about the monster outbreak serum. She explains the content. It says that a mutant strain is responsible for creating all variants, starting from neck-huggers to zombies. She then reminds him of the trailer near the house they saw before coming here. She continues that there's a serum that can cure this strain. Closing the diary, all motivated, John says that they just need to loot it and spray it through the mansion's sprinkler system. Once exposed to the serum, the mutants will all weaken at once. Following Jian, the viewers say the same thing about how it can get brutal without the serum. Do Hyuk replies that they should give it a shot. Jean, afraid, says what if they fail, to which Do Hyuk remarks that going all the way to get the serum is a hassle. Black Oak issues a 100,000 won challenge, to which both Do Hyuk and Jian, putting up brave faces, reply as if they're ready to do it. With a whir-like sound, the ground opens up. Do Hyuk remarks that maybe they need to go down to start with the next chapter. With Jian piggyback riding Do Hyuk, he jumps in through the opening on the floor. Do Hyuk lands heroically with John on his back, splashing away the water beneath him. A notification pops up welcoming them to the sewer labyrinth. Entering a place like this makes Do Hyuk nostalgic, how he used to live underground in the sewers hiding from the extraterrestrials, while Jian feels sick from the foul smell in the sewers. Seeing a rat running across in front of them, Do-hyuk acts delighted, seeing it remembering how good sewer rat broth soup tastes, while Jin screams seeing a rat. Suddenly, their attention is drawn towards the giant rats running towards them in the sewer. Delighted, seeing giant rats, Do-hyuk happily leaps towards them. Seeing Do-hyuk's expression as he dashes towards a rat, the rat flinches in its tracks. Glimmering in ecstasy, Do-hyuk cuts through them like holding onto rat hind leg meat with his tongue sticking out. Holding out the meat to his mouth about to take a bite, John, scared and trembling, calls him out as to why he's trying to eat it. As Do-hyuk was about to take a bite, large rubbles flew towards him, taking the rat meat with them as they passed by Do-hyuk. Two disgusting-looking monsters with tentacles for one arm appear growling. They are called Chaos, a late-game boss monster known for its tentacle arms and outstanding regeneration. Surprised by the appearance of two Chaos, John calls out to Do-hyuk to run. The two Chaos monsters look shocked as how Do-hyuk just ignores them and continues his search for the rat meat in the sewage water. With tears welling in his eyes from losing the rat meat, Do-hyuk turns to face the Chaos monsters with anger, vowing to hunt them. The two monsters rush towards Do-hyuk, attacking him, to which he leaps backward and dodges, while John acts irritated because of all the events happening to them since the beginning. Black Oak says that in reality mode, the difficulty level depends on the player's stats, and that Do-hyuk's stats far exceeds the game's rank limit. Getting hit by a punch from a Chaos monster, Do-hyuk flies back, crashing into a wall while blocking it. Viewers debate that even if it's because of Do-hyuk's stats, still spawning two boss monsters is really stretching it, while Do-hyuk continues to dodge the attacks. Enjoying the fight against strong enemies, Do-hyuk suddenly dashes forward, cutting off their tentacles easily as ever. From where the monster's tentacles got cut off, new tentacles started to emerge from there. One of the Chaos monsters releases a poison gas through its mouth, with a green-colored skull appearing over Jian's head, depicting that she's poisoned. She informs Do-hyuk that they have only 10 minutes left before their health bar reaches 0. Suddenly, a Chaos monster attacks Do-hyuk with a punch, which Do-hyuk dodges by ducking. Jumping forward, Do-hyuk cuts through a Chaos monster's arms. Slashing through the monster's thigh and neck, he says that even if they continue to regenerate, he's going to keep breaking them till they can't regenerate anymore. Regenerating its cut-off head, arm, and thigh, it rushes back towards Do-hyuk, while the other monster decides to attack John. The Chaos monster jumps up at Do-hyuk, extending his tentacled arm. Suddenly, a viewer informs Do-hyuk that unless their heart is destroyed, those monsters will keep regenerating endlessly. Knowing the vital information, Do-hyuk dashes forward towards the monster, slashing at his arm. As the monster attacks Do-hyuk, he dodges, letting the attack hit the other Chaos monster, piercing its heart. The remaining Chaos monster growls in fury. Do-hyuk jumps and hits its head with his hand axe. With agile movement, Do-hyuk makes a vertical downward slash, slashing through its heart in one go. Slashing through its heart, the Chaos monster, defeated, falls down as Do-hyuk heroically stands over its corpse, completing his mission. John stands there at the back, shocked at Do-hyuk's amazing performance. With a notification window popping up saying that the Chaos mission has been cleared, John turns with glimmering eyes, asking the viewers that they should donate something after witnessing such an incredible gameplay. John expresses her gratitude to the viewers for their donations, while looking at the donation notifications, while Do-hyuk just looks at her, thinking just how much she would have made today. John turns to Do-hyuk, asking him if that's all or if they're going to keep going further. Do-hyuk remarks that it's been 8 hours since they started playing, and that they should call it a day and rest up a bit. The viewers ask him to at least play for 18 hours, to which Do-hyuk says that this being his first time in VR, he's feeling a little motion sick after playing for so long. They then finally bid farewell to the viewers, with Do-hyuk saying that he'll return to finish it the next time. Viewers talk amongst themselves about what they just witnessed, the beginning of a legend. They then turn to Black Oak, asking him what he thinks about what just happened. Surprised like everyone else, he spoke mysteriously. Just what is that guy? All while thinking to himself. He remarks that if Do-hyuk's physical skills are this insane in here, then just how amazing he'd be in other games, and that if he were to play another game it would end up being an absolute smash hit. Standing up from this chair with a determined look on his face, he decides he needs to recruit him onto his side. Both surprised and impressed by her brother's outstanding playstyle while mimicking his in-game character with a pan in her hands, Jian showers Do-hyuk with praise, while Do-hyuk sitting at the back with a worried expression on his face. Do-hyuk finally speaks up and tells Jian to cut it out before she accidentally hits him with the pan, following that this is why she can't get a boyfriend. With tears falling from her eyes and anger building up on her face, holding the pan up in a striking position, Jian exclaims how hot of a girl she is and has dated tons of guys, making fun of her. Do-hyuk says that imaginary relationships don't count. Ignoring his comment, John asks him about how he played like that earlier, saying how he looked like some crazy guy on steroids. As a simpleton he is. Do-hyuk says that just did it and it worked, making Jean sneer, calling it disgusting natural talent. John remembers how ridiculously athletic Do-hyuk was since a child, following with a thought that only if weren't for a fortune-teller back then. A crazy-looking woman speaking at the top of her lungs about how Do-hyuk has the fate to save the world. Having received that prophecy, their parents, shocked, question that their idiot-looking son, Do-hyuk, will save the world while pointing at him. Jian then continues how their parents took that too seriously, despite the desperate pleas of her PE teacher throughout school. With the PE teacher telling them about Do-hyuk's talents lying in sports, they refuse to believe that knowing the prophecy, while Do-hyuk stands there holding a book in his hands, his mother tells his father to get the PE teacher out of there as his father follows through with her. Do-hyuk sits there on the couch, scratching underneath his shirt, while looking at him. She thinks about how much their parents regretted not listening to that teacher back then. Letting out a sigh, she tells Do-hyuk that with things turning out the way they have, he should start proper streaming. Pointing at himself, Do-hyuk questioned Jian that he should start streaming with a confused look on his face. Holding up her phone in her hand, she speaks of the recent events as how the viewers reacted towards Do-hyuk, and that he can get insanely popular just by showing his gameplay without having to converse with the viewers. With a serious look on his face, Do-hyuk remembers the thrill he felt while playing the game, which he hadn't felt in a long time. Remembering his past life before his regression, how he spent over a decade constantly fighting, how he needed to kill just one more alien species every day just to survive through it. While now, all he does is work. Go to construction sites with no stimulation whatsoever, continuously dying of boredom from living like that. The VR battle finally gave him that thrill his life has been missing since his regression. Letting out a content sigh, smiling, looking at his fist, he says how fun it was. With sparkly eyes full of hope, Jian asks if Do-hyuk's finally agreeing to stream. Do-hyuk simply replies that he needs to pay off his debt. He adds on that he needs to think about this a bit more. Jian, annoyed by Do-hyuk's indecisiveness, not giving a proper answer, she tells him about how he has earned over 3 million won by simply doing the game missions today, including the bonus from Black Oak, and that's all the more reason for him to stream more. Both surprised and shocked by how he made over 3 million won in one day, he realizes that he can pay off his loan debt in no time this way. Acting like her servant, holding up a platter full of fruits to John, Do-hyuk says that he'll trust his little sister's credit card to help him buy a capsule. Graciously, John agrees to buy Do-hyuk a capsule. Delighted by it, Do-hyuk dances and claps as John goes on to buy him a capsule. While John's just about to buy the capsule, suddenly a message pops up. Surprised by the message, John asks Do-hyuk to come look at it. Worriedly, Do-hyuk asks if all the capsules are sold out. She turns around and shows the chat screen to Do-hyuk, saying that Black Oak sent her a DM. Do-hyuk soon recognizes the guy. She continues on how the famous game streamer Black Oak wants to collaborate with Do-hyuk, to which Do-hyuk acts surprised. Do-hyuk straightforward denies it, pissing off Jian. Putting her hand on his shoulder, John questions him as to why not. Then she says that just one collaboration with him, Black Oak, will skyrocket Do-hyuk's viewers. Covering up his body with his hands while crying dramatically, Do-hyuk questions about using a capsule as a bait to make him collaborate with a guy. He continues, though he respects his, Black Oak's, gender identity, but he, Do-hyuk, likes women. Do-hyuk continues to cry dramatically as he curses Jian and accuses her of being so obsessed with viewers that she'd even sacrifice her own brother's purity. Standing behind Do-hyuk, Jian, clearly pissed off and annoyed by Do-hyuk's actions, thinks if she should just kill him. The next day, Do-hyuk's capsule gets delivered and installed. Faces covered in bruises. Do-hyuk thinks to himself what an idiot he is for misunderstanding what type of collab Black Oak asked for. Do-hyuk then enters his room, closing the door behind him, and says, having decided to stream, it's about time he does it for real. He gets inside his capsule. It's a high-end capsule that Jian bought for Do-hyuk with a 12-month installment plan through her credit card. She tells him that a capsule like this necessary for future streaming, after adding some convenience features. The total came to 20 million won. Do-hyuk thinks to himself that even though they've bickered a lot as kids, Jian's got a soft heart. With newfound determination, he decides he'll make tons of money with this and buy Jian lots of presents. After starting up, a screen shows up with many different games on it. Do-hyuk decides that this time he wants to try playing game mode instead of reality mode. He decides to pick up a game where he can utilize near superhuman specs so that he can satisfy the craving that It Kills 2 couldn't fulfill. Broke as hell, he decides to go for one of the cheapest games. he soon finds a game that catches his eye. He remembers having played that exact game as a kid. This game is called Ultimate Fighter FD. He was surprised as well as excited seeing that this game has a full dive version now. Seeing how cheap it was, only $20, he decides to buy it. A notification pops up saying that the purchase is complete and that he's entering the game lobby. Another notification pops up asking him to set a nickname. He decides on using his old nickname. I guess that's it. Then a notification pops up saying that the nickname has been set. He shouts out that it's time he checks his physical status. He follows with a punch to the floor right beneath him. He activates a skill called Explosive Fist, shattering the floor beneath him in a single punch. He then activates another skill called Rapid Strikes, moving really fast, leaving the afterimage of his previous actions behind. Then he activates another skill called Wolf Fang. With a rapid swing of his arm, he shoots out a horizontal slash from his hands, damaging the pillars in front of him. Letting out a sigh, he asks himself if that is the max capability in-game mode. Looking at his fist, he says that even though it's not at the level of being called superhuman, it's still beyond the limits of a human. Standing there, he talks to himself that this is probably the highest level an average person can handle. Any faster than this, and normal perception wouldn't be able to keep up. Looking up in excitement, now that he's warmed up, it's about time for a real match. He then asks the computer to search up a ranked game for him. A notification window pops up saying that he doesn't meet the level requirements for a ranked matchmaking. He suddenly remembers that there was a rule like that. He then asks the computer to search for a public room instead. The computer starts searching for a public room. While that goes on, Do-hyuk decides to pick up a character for himself. A girl wearing a kimono slashes through a fighter with her katana, while the viewers shout out to her in excitement. A notification pops up saying that Harang wins. Harang is the person the viewers were shouting out to. She is also known as the Sword Princess. Holding her sword in one hand while giving a wink to the viewers, she says, "Mission complete." Suddenly, a viewer asks who Harang is and why they are so good in ulti-fight. Harang notices the comment and looks up. Then suddenly another viewer asks him how does he not even know who the Sword Princess is. The viewers then explain that Dark Sword Girl, Harang, used to go by the name Sword Princess, and that ulti-fight was once famous enough to have a world championship. As the viewer continues to praise her, she, embarrassed by all the praise, asks him to stop, continuing to say that it's been ages since she quit playing ulti-fight professionally, so it's understandable if everyone wouldn't know her. She adds that the player named Iron Fist is much more popular nowadays, to which the viewers agree. She looks up and asks the computer to find her a ranked room with similar settings to ranked mode. Having found a match, the computer says that the minimum wait time is 9 minutes. Surprised by how long the wait time is, she then asks the wait time for the next game. The computer replies that the wait time would be 12 minutes for the next game. Irritatedly, Harang mentions how that will mess up her stream's pace. Soon after, a viewer suggests to Harang that she could do a public match mission in the meantime, to which she replies that it sounds good, and that the queue to it is slow anyway. Suddenly, a viewer drops a 100,001 mission for her. It says that she has to win 5 consecutive matches in 12 minutes. Harang responds with an awkward smile that they're overestimating her and to cut her some slack. The viewers then mention that since the game's decline only strong, hardcore players remain, making public matches a bit too difficult, and that public matches are exactly the place where the top players bully the beginners. Then the viewers mention how Harang lost to a guy named Batago. Agitatedly, Harang responds that it was because she wasn't using her main character while Batago used his main. Harang then decides to change into her alternate character, and her alternate character's name is as follows: Wanderer Yetter. Sparkling with confidence, Harang announces that this time she'll only use her alternate character, and that she'll show them what real seal clubbing looks like. She then asks the computer to create a public room, 1v1 showdown, ulti-fight beginners only. The background starts to change as the computer starts creating a public room as per Harang's command. Now the background has completely changed. Harang stands on a piece of land in between a sea of lava with her opponent standing right in front of her. The viewers then look at a man standing there in front of Harang with black flames emanating from his fists. They comment saying that it's the Night Warrior, Hoken, the twin-fisted Black Dragon, and that he's platinum rank. Harang, while getting into a fighting stance, thinks to herself that Hoken is a fighter with easy inputs and solid performance, with the controls not being difficult. The performance is good, and also how this character always ranks in the top 3 most popular characters in ulti-fight. Dashing forward, Hoken jumps into the air, gathering the black flames into his right hand. Already having predicted that Hoken will use the black flame strike, she dodges it as he's about to strike her by jumping backwards. While skidding after jumping backwards, she speaks of how close range fight favors martial artists. After gaining a stable foothold, she continues that a mage's best strategy against a martial artist is maintaining distance followed by long-range attack. Then suddenly her staff starts to shine brightly with a red glow. Without any incantations, she idiotically throws her staff while calling it magic staff attack. It then hits Hoken, knocking him off the ground. With his nose broken from Harang's attack, bleeding, Hoken puts his hand on his nose as he complains about her unusual attack and that it was just a simple staff throw. He was suddenly cut short while speaking. Harang suddenly dashes towards Hoken, holding him by his hand with a fierce look in her eyes. Pulling his hand forward with her body weight, she suddenly flips him over while yelling her move, calling it physical therapy magic. With an arrogant grin on her face, she says that the physical therapy magic was actually a setup for her upcoming move, as the activation time for that move is long. With a devilish look on her face, she activates the spell, Meteor Summon, summoning a huge ball of fire above her. Terrified of such a large-scale spell, Hoken, yelling it's beyond him, tries to run. With a satisfied smile on her face, she bids farewell to Hoken. As the meteor hits Hoken, taking him out, he lets out one last scream, cursing the veterans of Ultimate Fighter FD. The match ends with a huge blast on the arena platform, caused by Harang's meteor summon. A notification then pops up announcing that the Dark Sword Girl, Harang, is the winner, followed by the computer restoring the destroyed platform. Eager to complete the 5-win streak mission, Harang asks the computer to summon the next challenger. With a beam of light crashing on the platform, a player's shadow forms in it, showing that another opponent for Harang has been summoned. Harang's next opponent is none other than Do Hyuk, with him having chosen the character Steve. Having just appeared, Do Hyuk decides to warm up a bit by jumping as Harang looks at him speechless at what he's doing. Do Hyuk then crouches and taps on the arena floor, trying to gouge out how tough it is as Harang continues watching him quietly. Do Hyuk looks over the edge of the arena, surprised on seeing the lava around the arena, as Harang stands behind him, questioning whether it's okay to beat up a newbie. With a sly smirk on her face, she says that even if she wants to protect the newbie, she still has to finish her mission, not expecting for a total beginner to show up as her opponent. Putting her staff up in the air in one hand, she commences for the game to start. As the countdown starts for the match, turning on his serious mode, Do Hyuk turns to face his opponent. As the match starts, Do Hyuk dashes forward in no time, appearing right in front of Harang. Dodging his attack, she mocks him how dodging a newbie's charge is a piece of cake for her. After balancing himself, Do Hyuk suddenly appears in front of Harang. Do Hyuk then punches Harang. Do Hyuk continues punching her without a moment's rest, consecutively hitting her face with every punch. With a perfect remark floating over his head, Do Hyuk stands there as Harang lies on the floor spitting blood, defeated. Satisfied with himself, Do Hyuk stands there as Harang's body vanishes as she was defeated. Soon, Harang responds right in front of Do Hyuk with a look of surprise on her face. The viewers start trolling Harang on getting defeated by a total newbie, and to that with a perfect, irritated, Harang challenges Do Hyuk to fight her again. Feeling ashamed of getting defeated by a newbie, she looks up, then shamelessly makes up an excuse that she lost because she let her guard down. She then starts accusing Do Hyuk of being a veteran, trying to pull in her viewers to believe that Do Hyuk is a veteran and was just acting as a newbie then, which Do Hyuk doesn't seem to care much about. She reverts back to her main character, Sword Girl Harang, shouting how she's going to be the one to show a perfect victory this time. The viewers again start trolling her on how she just took out her Sword Girl character right after getting crushed. She starts to get irritated by the actions of her viewers. Seething in anger, spouting fire, she says that if she does it properly, she'll win, while Do Hyuk just stands there looking at her, weirded out by her actions. Harang takes her sword out and mentions how angry she is now. With a serious expression, she says that she's going to turn her serious mode on now. As Do Hyuk looks up at the ready notification floating over his head, Harang thinks at most Do Hyuk is probably an upper diamond or lower master player. She then speaks to herself that Transcendent is the highest rank of Ultimate Fighters, and including her, there are only 100 Transcendents. Remembering Do Hyuk's fighting style, she realizes that it's different from Ulti-Fight, and that it's clear that he's a top-tier player from another game who's just joined Ulti-Fight. As the countdown comes to an end, she dashes forward shouting that she'll show what control truly means. She slashes at Do Hyuk, which he easily dodges by ducking. Pulling his hand, Do Hyuk is ready to punch her. Making rapid movement, she shouts out that she isn't going to fall for the same trick twice. Instead of punching her, Do Hyuk grabs her by her wrist, stopping her in her tracks. Holding onto her wrist, he pulls her forward, messing up her balance while gritting his teeth, ready to punch her. With the punch hitting her in the face, tears start to well up in her eyes. Receiving consecutive punches to her face exactly like in the previous, she ends up getting defeated again. With a perfect remark floating over his head, Do-hyuk stands there as Harang lies on the floor, spitting blood, defeated again. Vanishing and then respawning, she challenges Do-hyuk once again, repeating the process of challenging and getting defeated again and again. Do-hyuk once again comes out victorious, while Harang lies on the ground with bruises all over her face, trembling. Feeling content after a 5-win streak, Do-hyuk turns back as Harang vanishes. Thinking back to his first match, he reviews how the staff character was easy to deal with, and how it got trickier when she switched to the sword character and used a bunch of some weird skills. Looking at his palm, he continues on how he logged into game mode wanting to try some psychic powers, but having skipped the tutorial, he didn't know how to use them. Clenching his fist, thinking to himself, he speaks how it didn't work even after using his old mana sensing abilities. Speaking of how he chose the game mode just to feel his old psychic powers again, he decides that next time he'll definitely do the tutorial. He then notices Harang as she respawns. With an encouraging look on his face, he compliments Harang on her playstyle and asks her about her tier. Clearly agitated for some reason, Harang points her finger at Do-hyuk, moving her mouth, speaking, to which Do-hyuk isn't able to hear anything she's saying. Do-hyuk confusedly asks her what she's saying and that he can't hear her. Thinking to himself, he realizes that maybe she has turned on her communication blocking function to focus on the game, and if that's true, then she won't be able to hear him at all. Harang continues to inaudibly speak. She begins to pull out her sword while trying to provoke Do-hyuk. Surprised, Do-hyuk looks up at the countless incoming revenge requests from Harang. Confused about what to do and that he needs to go back now, he turns back waving at her, deciding that should hurry out and look up how to activate game skills. Harang, confused, continues to speak something inaudibly. Looking back at Harang's mouth movements with a smile, he thinks if she's asking for his nickname to add him as a friend for the next revenge match. Standing confidently in front of Harang, he says his nickname, I guess that's it, to which Harang acts confused. Harang stands there gawking at the notification screens, speechless, as they serially float over her head with Do-hyuk's nickname written on them. She curses at him with tears falling from her eyes. The notification pops up saying that player 2 has logged out as Do-hyuk vanishes. She falls to the ground on her knees, dramatically screaming that she'll definitely find him. The viewers continue to make fun of Harang as she stands there on the arena platform, cursing at Do-hyuk. Totally pissed off by Do-hyuk spitting fire, she yells that how dare he ignore her. A viewer then comes up and explains to Harang that Do-hyuk wasn't exactly ignoring her. He continues that if it's a newly created account, then the initial settings are on mute mode, and maybe he couldn't hear her as he hadn't turned that off, while Harang stands there with an angry look on her listening to the viewer's explanation. Gritting her teeth, she says that there's no way that's possible, and that they all saw it earlier. She then goes into a flashback of the last match, where Harang activates her signature skill, Dance of Death, which depicts many after-images of Harang swinging her sword at Do-hyuk, striking and slashing through his shirt. Do-hyuk skillfully dodges her attacks while Harang continues speaking through the flashback that a beginner dodges her attacks, even taking her, Harang, down after she activated Dance of Death. She continues that it's not possible for a total newbie to defeat her in a single hit, remembering how monstrous Do-hyuk looked after taking her down. In the flashback, Harang respawns in a heroic pose as Do-hyuk stands in front of her, overestimating herself. She continues says that guy must be an ex-pro who came to specifically target her, or that he's a former top-tier UF player from its golden age. She continues. Or maybe that he's a current pro hiding his identity. A viewer then comments asking if it is Anatol, which catches Harang off guard. Thinking to herself, she finds it hard to believe that it's Anatol, known as the GOAT, the legend of Ultimate Fighter. She then thinks that unlike Anatol, who's textbook perfect, she couldn't read Do-hyuk's pattern at all. In a suspicious tone, she thinks to herself that there was no fixed pattern to Do-hyuk's attack, finding it hard to believe. With a bit of worry showing on her face now, she thinks that maybe if that's the case, then Do-hyuk was reacting in real time to her movements. While still staring at Do-hyuk, she thinks to herself that it's absurd. Such a thing goes beyond the realm of gaming, and such a person couldn't possibly exist. While still in the flashback, Do-hyuk compliments Harang on her playstyle and asks her about her tier. With a confused yet pissed-off look, she says that he should have already realized after fighting her. The viewers suddenly pass a comment making fun of how she's just a lowly transcendent. Agitated by their comment, she tells them to shut up. Even then, the viewers continue to troll her. Now agitated, she points her finger towards Do-hyuk and asks him if he's an ex-pro or a current pro, to which Do-hyuk, unable to hear her, asks what she's saying. Irritated by Do-hyuk, she tells him to just hurry up and accept her revenge request, as Do-hyuk just stands there looking as if he's thinking something. Clearly agitated again after he rejected her revenge request, she says that he already knows who she is and came to specifically target her. Pissed off, she says how there's no one on the Korean server who uses harangue so well like her. Standing in front of her confidently, Do-hyuk tells her his nickname, which she didn't seem to understand what he just said. She falls to her knees, yelling that she's definitely going to find him, and so the flashback ends. The viewers continue to make fun of her as she kneels there, screaming at the top of her lungs, saying how mad she is, with tears falling down from her eyes in anger. Sweating that she'll catch that guy and make him quit gaming for life, she too logs out. A few hours later, Do-hyuk returns to the lobby of his capsule. Tired after continuously playing 14 consecutive matches, he asks the computer to show him his total record. The computer then shows him his total record with 14 matches, 14 wins and 0 losses. Looking at it, Do-hyuk says that the overall level is low, except for the first one. He thinks of ranked matches, how the opponents he faced so far leave fatal openings with just 1 or 2 feints. Remembering how he's in diamond rank now, and that there are 2 more ranks above it, he gets excited thinking of the opponents he might meet after reaching the highest rank. Remembering his fight with his first opponent, the sword girl Harangue, he decides to add them as a friend. Then suddenly a notification window pops over his head, showing that Jian is inviting him to It Kills 2, seeing that he remembers that today he's supposed to stream with her. Realizing that it's already late, he hurries up and accepts her invitation to join her in the game, It Kills 2. Do-hyuk and Jian both appear together in the underground sewer they logged out in last time, followed by different comments from their viewers cheering for them. Greeting everyone with a wink, Jian welcomes her viewers into her stream, while Do-hyuk stands beside her looking up at the comments. A viewer then asks, pointing towards Do-hyuk, if he's the axe murderer standing beside her. Seeing that, Jian graciously introduces Do-hyuk to her viewers, introducing him while calling him nicknames Axe Murderer, which makes him look at her judgingly. Hearing the nickname Axe Murderer, he asks what's it about, to which Jian turns around and tells him that the kills he did during his previous gameplay in It Kills 2 is going viral on all the forums. With glimmering eyes, she turns around speaking of today's content, and Do-hyuk stands at the back expressionless on how fast Jian's expression changed. She then asks Do-hyuk to put his one hand up holding his axe, to which he awkwardly complies. Holding his axe up in one hand, weirded out by it, Do-hyuk stands there as Jian continues with her announcement that today's content will be of Do-hyuk's clearing It Kills 2, calling it the Axe of Madness Show. Looking at Do-hyuk, Jian points towards the dead body of the chaos monsters lying in front of them, reminding him of when they stopped after hunting chaos last time. Looking excited and enthusiastic, she announces to the viewers that this time they're attempting to clear the game It Kills 2, which they couldn't finish last time. Jian then turns around to face Do-hyuk, saying it's about time. Do-hyuk, gritting his teeth, holds his axes in an attacking stance, which makes Jian think that he's trying to attack her. With a horizontal slash, Jian quickly ducks, letting out a surprised cry. With the axe hitting one of the many monsters gathering behind Jian stands there with her hands put up in a blocking stance, as she misunderstood Do-hyuk trying to attack her. These monsters are a special creature called Sucker, with Do-hyuk's axe sticking out of a sucker's head as it fell on the corpse of the chaos monster. Many other suckers swarm around the corpse of the chaos monster, snarling at Do-hyuk and Jian. Do-hyuk suddenly then dashes forward, kicking on the sewage water where he stood, saying he'll take care of these mobs. A sucker moves forward, putting one arm up in an attacking position. Do-hyuk's hand reaches out to its face, grabbing it. The force at which they meet, his hand and the sucker's face, results in breaking a couple of its teeth. Cutting off its head with his axe as soon as he grabbed its head, then 2 more suckers jumped in, trying to surround Do-hyuk laterally. As one sucker lunges in towards Do-hyuk, swinging its sharp claws at Do-hyuk, he quickly ducks, avoiding getting hit. Then he spins around on one leg, cutting off that sucker's head smoothly, while he's still holding onto the first sucker's head. Another sucker jumps in with its arms open in an attempt to capture Do-hyuk, gritting his teeth while holding up the severed head in hand. He then throws the severed head at the sucker who is trying to capture him. With the severed head hitting its face, it gets knocked back. In a swinging stance, Do-hyuk yells out to the sucker to die, to which the monster tries to block the attack. Do-hyuk finishes it up in one strike, seeing that the other suckers seem to have gotten agitated by Do-hyuk's actions, with one sucker pointing at Do-hyuk while standing on the chaos monster's corpse. Do-hyuk notices the monsters swarming around him. He suddenly vanishes in front of the monsters, which puts them in confusion, seeing how their enemy just vanished into thin air. Suddenly appearing in front of one sucker, making him flinch, with his arms ready to swing and slash through it. He cuts through its neck, severing its head from its body as its head spins in air after getting cut off, now, with Do-hyuk being right where his other axe is, embedded into the skull of a sucker. Pulling it out of that sucker's skull, blood starts dripping down from it. Having retrieved his other axe, standing over the corpse of the chaos monster, Do-hyuk says that he has lengthened the fight long enough, and that it's about time to finish it up. 4 suckers dash towards Do-hyuk suddenly. A sucker attempts to attack Do-hyuk from behind with its fangs. Gritting his teeth, Do-hyuk murmurs to start off where they left it last time. Using 2 skills, whirlwind and charge at the same time, he dashes forward, cutting through the sucker's butter. After using both whirlwind and charge together at the same time, just like the last time, supporting himself by putting his hand on the wall, he starts to vomit. A viewer comments on Do-hyuk motion sickness still being the same as ever, to which he replies of having gotten used to it. Standing straight, he checks again if he got them all. Looking up at the comments of the viewers, Do-hyuk says that they don't seem that tough as how they die so easily in a single hit when he aims for their weak spots. The viewers say that the suckers don't die easily even when they are shot with a grenade launcher, but Do-hyuk was able to kill them so easily because he kept going for their necks. Reading through their comments, Do-hyuk realizes and speaks up, saying that the mobs are so designed to be taken down the way he did, making it so easy. The viewers start complaining how overpowered Do-hyuk is, how they normally need to take out a grenade launcher if even 2 of them show up, and that sneaking up from behind and stabbing them is their best bet. Do-hyuk says that from what he judged from their patterns was that they just keep charging straight ahead, and from that they can easily predict the attack, dodge it, then slash them. Letting out a sigh, Jian looks at Do-hyuk thinking that he wasn't usually this dense, and it's not possible for normal to follow through his complex movements just because he tells them how to. She continues on speaking to herself, how a genius can understand the struggles of ordinary people. Well, as long as the stream is entertaining, nothing else matters to her much. Pushing Do-hyuk forward, she tells him that they shouldn't waste any more time here and clear the next stage. Do-hyuk reminds the viewers one last time to remember his advice, it being slash, stab, swoosh. A person with his hands up from his elbow vertically blocks attacks. The person who's attacking is none other than the sword girl Hwarang. She suddenly dashes forward in a simple jump towards her opponent. As she swings her sword attacking her opponent simply blocks it with his armor-cladded arm. He then pushes back her sword with a punch to it. Gathering blue-colored energy in his hand, in a swinging position, yells out to her to die. Dodging his attack by jumping above him, her opponent's attack hits the ground, shattering it. Hwarang acts annoyed at how her opponent hasn't died yet despite her attacks. Hwarang activates her skill, Dance of Death, with her afterimages surrounding him completely, stabbing him from all directions. A notification window pops up announcing that the sword girl has won. While sheathing her sword, she says that this opponent was a bit tricky. Thinking to herself, she says that Dance of Death is even effective on high tier. Her hand trembles as she thinks about how that skill didn't work on Do-hyuk that time. Still unsure whether that guy, Do-hyuk, is a current pro or a former pro, or if maybe he's a pro from Iron Fist instead of UF. Hwarang acts sure about one thing. That is, she thinks that Do-hyuk is one of those competing for the world's best title along with Anatol, the one and only GOAT in UF. A notification pops up saying that Hwarang has one friend request. She decides to open it. Soon after, she lets out a surprised voice which makes her viewers excited about knowing what she saw. Gritting her teeth, spitting out a curse, her body suddenly starts to tremble. She fires up in anger, misunderstanding that Do-hyuk changed his nickname to, I guess that's it, simply to mock her. With an irritated look on his face, Do-hyuk stretches his ear with his pinky finger. John turns, looking at Do-hyuk over her shoulder, asking him to hurry up, to which Do-hyuk asks if someone is bad-mouthing him as his ears seem to be itching. Standing in front of a huge iron door, John tells Do-hyuk that the next boss they're going to face is on the other side of this door. Having thoroughly read the strategy guide this time, she looks around for a tile on the wall and presses it. The iron door then opens up. Walking in front of Do-hyuk, John walks through the iron door, taking a step on the stairs. Having thoroughly read the strategy guide this time, she seems to have adequate knowledge about the terrain around them beforehand. She continues to lead Do-hyuk as they walk up the stairs, reaching the iron bars. Beyond the iron bars lies a large horde of zombies. Zombies swarm the entire room beyond those iron bars. John continues that among those zombies lies the last gatekeeper protecting the final boss, Murderer. A viewer suddenly informs how he can't find the gatekeeper amongst the zombie horde, John. Noticing that 2 remarks how the gatekeeper should be in the center of the horde. Noticing something at the center, she speaks again that whatever that is at the center doesn't look like a zombie. After getting a proper look at it, Do-hyuk says that there's an old lady in a wheelchair. The viewers start acting shocked after seeing that there was indeed an old lady on a wheelchair in the center. Acting meek and scared, calling that old lady Chloe, she grabs onto Do-hyuk's arm, which surprises Do-hyuk hearing that the old lady's name is Chloe. Interpreting whatever he can from both Jian and the viewer's reaction, he thinks to himself that this old lady might be a boss monster, probably the first person infected with the mutant virus. With a serious look on his face, he thinks to himself that must be why she can control other zombies. He goes into flashback remembering how China was divided into 6 countries after the outbreak, and about a guy who used to rule over one of those countries. He remembers how that person awakened a zombie virus-like ability, allowing him to make infected people do his bidding. He continues as to how that guy used his zombie virus-like ability to fight with Chen Tao, the strongest in China. He remembers how that guy was utterly defeated by Chen Tao, with that incident confirming that transcendent class hunters are immune to both poison and viruses. Done reminiscing on the past, Do-hyuk points towards that old man, asking if that old lady is the boss monster he needs to crush. Asking such an obvious question makes the viewers eager to pull his leg, and so they made fun of him by being sarcastic, which Do-hyuk couldn't understand at all. Jian speaks up saying that if they don't save Chloe within the allotted time, then she'll continue to age like that the mutation from the virus manifested as aging in her. Looking at Jian, Do-hyuk asks if their clear was really so slow. Jian replies with the exact opposite, that they were actually incredibly fast. Turning to her viewers, she asks them if they know how this happened. To her question, each replied with having no idea, that if the difficulty setting AI just turned crazy. A viewer then comments that it's because they didn't spray the serum, seeing that, realizing their mistake, they just stand there, speechless. Other viewers add in that they were supposed to spray the serum with a sprinkler to slow down the infection process. Embarrassed by having gotten blinded by the mission rewards, they totally forgot they had to spray the serum with a sprinkler. As the viewers keep pointing out their mistakes, Do-hyuk steps forward, saying that it's his fault for being so inattentive, that it's because of him Chloe's condition has gotten worse. Having gotten the gist of it, he sneers at the story of him having to fight his ex-wife and is determined to defeat her. Jian, deciding to speak up, says that Chloe was the root cause of the whole mess since the beginning, stopping in between to ask the viewers if they mind hearing spoilers, to which they react positively. She narrates that Chloe was a researcher working on biochemical weapons within military organizations. The mutant strains causing all this chaos was created by her and her organization to develop bioterrorism weapons. She then decided on joining hands with a rival organization, so she secretly took out the mutant strain to sell it to them. Having caught in the act, she ended up hiding in here while being chased by her original organization, leading to her getting infected by the mutant strain pathogen in the process, Jian says, summing it up. Chloe is both the culprit and the root cause of these chaotic events. Being a simpleton that he is, Do-hyuk says that it's all over once they get rid of Chloe, to which Jian agrees. Energetic as ever, Do-hyuk asks Jian to open up the bars and get ready to enter. Jian presses a red button located to the side of the entrance wall. Do-hyuk stands in front of the iron bars as it gets pulled up. In a ready-to-fight stance, Do-hyuk announces that the Grand Acts of Madness show now begins. All the zombies run towards Do-hyuk, pushing against each other. Dodging the first time, he cuts off his head, gritting his teeth. He says that this is the second enhanced zombie rush following the previous one he faced, easily cutting through their necks like paper. Do-hyuk says that if this is how easy their last stand would be, then the boss fight is going to be a piece of cake for him. As the zombies keep rushing at Do-hyuk, the viewers comment in between how large the zombie horde is compared to the last time, and they also warn him that even a slight bite could cause status effects. Continuing, the viewers speak that despite Do-hyuk being extremely skillful, it'll still be difficult for him to fight the boss monster right after fighting so many mobs. Continuing to dash forward, Do-hyuk cuts through zombies with each step he takes while the viewers continue cheering him on. Dodging a zombie's claw, he says that it's a bit more risky using whirlwind charge in reality mode than in game mode. Do-hyuk moves forward, slashing through another zombie while the viewers continue showering him with praise. Gritting his teeth while he fights, Do-hyuk says that if the goal is to eliminate the final boss, then fighting the mobs can be avoided, and right after saying so, instead of fighting the zombies, he uses them as steps for him to use and avoid to reach the final boss, taking the shortest path possible, Chloe. With a final leap, he jumps towards Chloe. With her eyes starting to glow red, she stands up from the wheelchair, letting out a really loud screech, knocking back every other zombie surrounding her, even cracking up the floor. With that single screech, she blew off almost half of the building they were all in, fighting. With lightning falling down at a distance, Chloe stands there as the building is still crumbling apart after the sonic screech. The viewers notice something moving under the pile of zombies, anticipating that it's Do-hyuk, that Do-hyuk is still alive despite that attack earlier. A hand emerges from underneath a pile of zombie corpses, pushing off a zombie corpse in its path. Holding onto Jian in his arms, Do-hyuk rises from beneath the pile of zombies. Viewers are astonished by this feat of Do-hyuk, continuing to shower him with praise. Looking around at his surroundings, Do-hyuk remarks that now only the final boss remains, since that sonic screech wiped out most of the zombies. Putting his confident smile back on, Do-hyuk says that he can easily take down the boss in no time if he just keeps an eye out for an attack like the previous one. And so the second phase of the boss fight starts, with an anomaly of a boss monster suddenly emerging out of Chloe's body and turning into a disgusting mass, with multiple eyes and 2 mouths. This monster is called Black-Faced Chloe, Mass of Bacteria. Suddenly, 3 more different monsters pop up and appear standing in front of Black-Faced Chloe facing Do-hyuk. These 3 monsters are the murderers who were supposed to be in the center of the zombie horde in the beginning. Jian finds this level of difficulty unbelievable. Normally, it's just one murderer, but now it's murderers together with the boss monster that Do-hyuk will have to fight. Do-hyuk holds out his axe in front of Jian, indirectly telling her to stay back as the viewers continue to comment how the AI has gotten mad seeing someone clear the same without using a single round of ammo, with just a pair of axes nonetheless. Looking at the viewers, Jian explains how difficult Easy Chloe is despite being the final boss, and how difficult the murderers are as special entities, including they turn invisible when attacking, making them really tricky enemies to fight. A viewer then comments saying that shooting them with a gun makes the hit area visible, and that how they'll be able to clear it. The other viewers then fill in that such a thing isn't possible, as there's a melee weapons-only mission active right now, to which both Do-hyuk and Jian react noddingly. Another viewer speaks up saying if that's how it is, then can't they just have Jian shoot, to which both of them act really surprised having not considered that. Considering the viewer's words, Jian realizes how she's been making Do-hyuk do all the work, thinks if he tries she can hold off at least the tricky murderer off with the gun. Do-hyuk places his hands on the gun as Jian grabs it in her hands. Taking the gun off her hands, he crushes it right where he grabbed it, pissed off with her thinking of trying to help. To that with a gun, he tells her to simply just sit and watch from the sidelines, without trying to do unnecessary things. Seething through his teeth, he presses hard Jian's forehead with his finger, as he reminds her that her not doing anything is much more helpful to him than her trying to do something. Realizing her deeds, Jian says how the time she shot him in the head was just a mistake she made accidentally. The viewers start to troll her. How that one mistake put a hole in Do-hyuk's head, clearly annoyed, with tears welling up in her eyes from the trolls. She yells out that it happened accidentally. She didn't exactly mean for that to happen. Letting out a smile, Do-hyuk thinks to himself that Jian was simply trying to do her best, and that she should also enjoy playing the game. Putting a zombie corpse on his shoulder, he reminds Jian of the grenades they farmed earlier, telling her to throw them on his signal. The viewers make fun of Jian for not even knowing how to use grenades, to which she sharply reacts as to knowing how to at least use grenades. Snickering from behind, Do-hyuk remarks that how Jian isn't not stupid. Jian, annoyedly at the viewers for making fun of her, shouts at them telling them to stop it already, while Do-hyuk gets ready to fight. Dashing forward, looking ahead, he loudly tells Jian to be ready for his signal. Seeing Do-hyuk dashing towards them, all the 3 murderers leap forward, turning their invisible mode on. Do-hyuk shouts out to Jian, giving her the signal. Jian throws the grenade towards Do-hyuk, having removed the safety pin on it. The grenade slows down right over Do-hyuk's head while he's still in motion. The grenade then goes off with a loud blast, forcibly turning their stealth mode off, making them visible. Crying, Jian screams, apologizing how her hands skipped while the viewers continue trolling Jian's clumsiness. Standing on one knee, having blocked the grenade's blast with that zombie's corpse, he picked up then, knowing that Jian is surely going to somehow mess it up somehow. Throwing that zombie's corpse off, he dashes and then jumps right at one of the murderers, ready to swing his axe at it. He stabs the murderer's eye in his first swing at it, making it cry out in pain, splattering its blood around. Pushing against it, he jumps backward, using its mouth as a foothold. Another murderer comes rushing at Do-hyuk while he's midair. While still in midair, he senses a murderer coming up from behind him with its mouth open. He skillfully dodges the murderer in midair, ending up over its head still in midair. Using the force from being in air, he attacks the murderer he just dodged with his axe, confused as his axe didn't penetrate through its scales. While standing on a murderer's body, he senses another murderer sneaking up on him from behind. With no way to dodge its attacks, Do-hyuk decides to take the blue head-on while trying to block it, getting knocked back by its sheer force. He skids through the ground, tearing it as he skids backward in a blocking stance. With blood dripping from the one side of his mouth, with an excited grin, he says it's getting troublesome. Wiping the blood off, he finishes his sentence as to it's fun because it is getting a bit troublesome. Maniacally smiling, Do-hyuk dashes forward, saying it's about time to have some fun. Assessing the situation in front of his eyes, with one murderer unable to turn invisible with its eye damaged while the other 2 have already turned invisible. comparing the murderers to the alien species from his life before regressing, as how they also could become invisible by changing their molecular structure, allowing light to pass through them, thinks to himself as he continues running towards them that these snakes are a piece of cake compared to the alien species. Closing his eyes while he tries to remember how it felt when he eliminated those alien species, running towards black-faced Chloe and the blinded murderer with his eyes closed. Having regained that feeling, he senses the invisible murderers with his eyes closed. He thinks to himself that there's 2 in front and 2 in back of him. He dodges both of the murderer's attacks easily with his eyes still closed. He then lands on the head of the blinded murderer, saying that this guy is going to be his first target. Holding his axe up in a swinging stance, he speaks that not sure if the game implemented that detail. Swinging his axe down, he attacks its weak spot, the reverse scale on the back of its head, as he finishes his sentence saying that the developers surely paid attention to the small details. Concentrating his attacks at the point where it had its reversed scale, he cuts off the murderer's head with continuous strikes, saying that in situations like this, monster reptiles are one-hit kills for him. Black-faced Chloe turns towards Do-hyuk, extending her whip-like arms towards him. With its whip-like arms attacking him, he smoothly dodges every attack thrown his way. While he continues to dodge Chloe's attacks, a murderer tries to sneak attack him from behind, which Do-hyuk easily notices. Turning to face it, dodging its attempt to attack, Do-hyuk smashes its face down to the ground heavily. Do-hyuk then puts his axes inside its mouth, facing up, stabbing the inside of its mouth with his axe, forcibly keeping its mouth open as he pulls on its upper jaw with his axes, keeping them open as Chloe attacks at Do-hyuk's direction with its whip-like arms, with its open mouth acting as shield for Do-hyuk. Doing that, she both protects himself from the whip-like attacks while killing another murderer through Chloe. While he does that, the last murderer sneaks up from behind him with its mouth open to bite down on Do-hyuk. And so it lunges forward, biting down on the neck of the murderer Do-hyuk was standing on. Dodging that attack, still in air, right above the last murderer, he mentions about the weaknesses of reptilian monsters, both inside their mouth and the opposite side of its back scales, that is, its belly, while still being in mid-air. Falling down, he skillfully cuts through the last murderer's neck in a single strike. He safely lands on the ground with the lady murderer falling to the ground with a loud noise, defeated. He then dashes forward towards the last monster standing, black-faced Chloe, mass of bacteria. He then jumps and appears right in front of Chloe with his axe ready to swing down at it. Dashing forward, Do-hyuk cuts through black-faced Chloe, splitting it into 2 from between, vertically. John, delighted, leaps towards Do-hyuk, saying that the game is cleared. They won. Looking all happy, Jian speaks to her viewers, showing her gratitude towards her viewers for their donations, and that she's really glad that they enjoyed their stream, while Do-hyuk looks at his hand, with a slightly concerned look on his face. Tightening his grip on his axe, he thinks to himself, comparing how the Ultimate Fighter match that he played was more interesting, and how, right when he was just getting into it while fighting black-faced Chloe, it soon ended. With satisfaction showing on his face, Do-hyuk remembers how fun his fight with the Black Blade girl was, amazed by the variety of attack patterns, spacing control, and mind games. Thinking to himself about that fight and then the fight with the monsters, he comments on how the attack pattern of the monsters were way too simple, standing straight. He then says how this wasn't too difficult this time either. A notification then pops up saying that Black Oak donated 100,000 won and also congratulates them, seeing that Do-hyuk looks up at it and thanks Black Oak for the donation. The viewers then comment on the arrival of Black Oak and why Do-hyuk's game clear video is uploaded on Black Oak's item. With those comments swarming up, Do-hyuk turns his head. John suddenly comes forward, crouching a bit. She explains that it's because they haven't made an item account yet, and in return for sending viewers their way, they agreed to upload this game on Black Oak's item, while Do-hyuk just stands there at the back. Black Oak donates another 100,000 won and reminds them of the next collab, which gets the attention of the other viewers, to which Jian and Do-hyuk look up. Patting his shoulder while pointing at him, all sparkly, Jian announces to the viewers that her brother will be streaming with Black Oak this time. Suddenly, a viewer asks them if they're going to be streaming together with Black Oak, to which they both reply that it's just Do-hyuk streaming with Black Oak on Do-hyuk's own channel. The viewers then ask Do-hyuk about his streamer name, which John also asks him. Do-hyuk says that he was just going to use his real name. The viewers then comment that if Jian's streamer name is Jianchu, then shouldn't Do-hyuk be Do-hyukchu, to which he replies with a pretty annoyed look on this face, saying that he's rather just his name than copy his sister's. Irritated and pissed off, John demands an explanation as to what's wrong with Jianchu. Do-hyuk simply says that he thinks that Jianchu is a great streamer name. With a disgusted look on his face, Do-hyuk looks at Jian and asks if he has to do the same thing that Jian does to welcome her viewers. With an extremely cute expression on his face and in a girly pose, copying the exact same thing Jian does when she welcomes her viewers to her stream, Jian says the exact same thing that Jian does, and in a cute voice too, seeing that Jian freezes in his place. With a shocked face, she spits on Do-hyuk's face as he was in the middle of his cute act, calling it disgusting. Turning towards the viewers with Jian's spit flowing down from near his eyes, Do-hyuk explains that this is the reason why he'll just do with his own name, dramatically covering her face with her hands, exaggerates how she can't see anymore with her eyes starting to rot. Getting into a pose, she points at Do-hyuk while looking towards the viewers, and tells them that Do-hyuk's streamer debut is at 8 p.m. the next day, and says that they can find more detail in her Twitch profile. Expressing their gratitude to the viewers for watching their stream, they both log out. Looking at the various comments of others, Black Oak speaks to himself saying that Do-hyuk surely knows how to stir up the hype. Talking with Do-hyuk through a video call, Black Oak asks him if he too saw these posts, to which he says that he too has. Talking to Black Oak, he says how he didn't expect this much buzz. Black Oak mentions that's just how much of an impact he made through Instant Kill. Excited about their collaboration, Black Oak says that the main content for the stream should be games that showcase physical prowess. Looking at the screen, Do-hyuk asks what kind of game he has in mind. Black Oak responds by saying the name of the game they'll be playing during that collaboration, that is, Rise of Valhalla. Black Oak then describes the game in detail to Do-hyuk. Rise of Valhalla is a game set in the 9th century, during the invasion of Anglo-Saxon England by the great heathen army of Viking warriors. What makes it stand out is its exceptional combat mechanics and intense battles, brutal yet noble in warfare than anyone else in battle. While looking at the screen, he then tells Do-hyuk how it's the perfect game to experience the so-called Viking high, and this was the most recommended game on the forums. He then asks Do-hyuk what he thinks. Do-hyuk asks him if Valhalla has both a standard game mode and reality mode, to which Black Oak says yes. With a large excited smile on his face, Black Oak says that Valhalla is the perfect game for Do-hyuk. Holding up his phone in front of his face, Do-hyuk listens to as Black Oak speaks, saying that Valhalla supports both game mode and reality mode. Gritting his teeth while holding up his fist in the air, he continues saying how hardly anyone plays in reality mode, because most people can't keep up with Viking-level physical abilities. Remembering the time when he was defeated by a foot soldier, with a slightly terrified look on his face, Black Oak, that in reality mode even the early Saxon soldiers are tough to defeat. Black Oak then informs Do-hyuk that he tried the reality mode challenge a few times and totally got wrecked. Do-hyuk asks in return to how far he got. Humbly speaking, Black Oak says that after several attempts he finally managed to beat a regular knight just to get demolished by the next guy. Complimenting him for his good gameplay and Ultimate Fighter they previously played together, Do-hyuk then says how it must be near impossible for average players if even Black Oak struggled against a knight. With an awkward look on his face, Black Oak says it's a little embarrassing to hear after he got completely destroyed. Black Oak begins to remember the match they had in Ultimate Fighter, thinking that since Do-hyuk will just keep getting stronger if he could win just one round, he'll turn off Alpha and never compete against Do-hyuk. He remembers dashing forward while thinking with his so-called, "You're really bad at this strategy," and will be forever known as the man who defeated Lee Do-hyuk in Alpha Black Oak. With a bruised face, coughing, Black Oak lied they're defeated, thinking that he jumped in hoping to win and boast about it, but instead he miserably lost to Do-hyuk. Looking at his phone, he thinks to himself that if it's this version of Do-hyuk, then he might be able to clear Valhalla in reality mode that even Black Oak himself could never do. Standing up from his chair, he mentions how only a chosen few ever reached the end of Valhalla, though it took them multiple tries to do that. Do-hyuk looks at his phone at Black Oak as he goes on about how if it's Do-hyuk, then without a single retry, he believes that Do-hyuk can clear the challenge. Do-hyuk stands up saying that it's 8 o'clock. He then says that if he wants to live up to that trust, then he's going to need to put in more effort while looking at his capsule. Soon he disconnects the call. After logging in, Do-hyuk looks up, then asks John if she can hear him. John reacts positively with a thumbs up, while Do-hyuk tells her to take care of today's one-day manager role. Do-hyuk then starts full dive and enters the lobby. The viewers then ask Do-hyuk about what game he's going to play today, to which he says that he'll tell them later. Looking towards the viewers, Do-hyuk asks if they have any questions for him. The viewers then ask him about why he is so good at combat. Do-hyuk laughs awkwardly, thinking he can't exactly say that he trained to save the world that wouldn't collapse, and how he used to be the strongest hunter in his past life, and then regressed. Smiling lightly, he says that talking about his past is a bit difficult, so he'll just skip it. Changing the topic, Do-hyuk says how he plans to make gaming his main streaming content. He then asks the computer to bring up the game library, and suddenly, an interface pops up depicting the 2 games that Do-hyuk has played till now. That is, It Kills 2 and Ultimate Fighter FD. One viewer asks him if he's actually playing Ultimate Fighter, to which he replies that he has played it a few times back in the console game days, and then asks the viewers about what they think. Seeing their comments, calling Ultimate Fighter as Trash Fighter, Do-hyuk says that their reactions are similar to what Black Oak said, and if Ultimate Fighter is really as bad as they make it sound to be like. Suddenly, a cute chibi character of John pops up and tells Do-hyuk that the Ultimate Fighter is outdated. Jean then says that Ultimate Fighter is so bad that it's called Trash Fighter or just Trash, and how Iron Fist is the go-to for fighting games. Thinking to himself, Do-hyuk decides that it's better to avoid the Ultimate Fighter on stream. A viewer suggests Do-hyuk to try the god-tier game, Iron Fist, to which Do-hyuk looks up and replies that he has already decided on today's game. Chibi-John informs Do-hyuk that the number of their viewers is already above 2,000 and that he should start soon, to which Do-hyuk looks up excited. Putting his hand on the floor of the lobby, he calls out saying, "Rise of Valhalla." Do-hyuk suddenly appears in a black and white world in a heroic pose wearing Viking equipment with tattoos on his face. An interface pops up saying that he's currently in inactive form. Standing heroically, he says in a surprised tone that this is the Viking world, Rise of Valhalla. John pops up and tells him to choose the mode first. Looking up at the interface, he says that he'll go with reality mode first. With a viewer saying that how Vikings 2 use dual axes, Do-hyuk then takes out his dual axes looking at them. Then Do-hyuk says that they have a special guest, turning his face to the light beam that suddenly falls on the floor. From the light beam, Black Oak emerges greeting the viewers, to which some viewers call him Trash Hands and Black Mosquito. Another viewer comments on how Black Oak came back to farm items in this game again, to which Black Oak replies with a wink, telling them to stop hating on mosquitoes. Putting his hand towards Black Oak, Do-hyuk says that as part of their collab, Black Oak will bring viewers to Do-hyuk's stream, and in return they'll upload their collab on Black Oak's channel. An interface then pops up saying that Black Oak has rated with 2,400 viewers, to which Black Oak points upward towards that interface and says he's not a mosquito, but at least a honeybee. Chibi-Jian excitedly calls out to Do-hyuk, telling him to look at how their number of viewers has now gone over 5,000. Standing behind Do-hyuk, while Do-hyuk looks up in excitement, Black Oak thinks to himself that this is how one builds connections. With a sly, conniving smirk on his face, Black Oak thinks to himself that if he builds ties with the rising star, Do-hyuk now, then he'll be dripping with benefits just by standing next to him. Do-hyuk then turns to the computer and tells it to start the game. With stormy water crashing at the coast, a story then begins. It's the year 793, and a dreadful calamity descended upon the sacred land of Northumbria. With a Viking standing at the deck of the ship, holding his sword up and ahead, the story continues, accursed name Vikings, the place where Ragnar and his Viking warriors were on the coast of Northumbria. With Ragnar pulling out the sword lunged into his chest, the story continues as so. Ragnar fought his final battle against Aella II, the king of Northumbria. Having fallen into a trap, he met his demise. Screaming at the top of his lungs, he calls out to the Saxons and their cowardly act, saying that this is not the end, and that if his children find out about his death, they won't sit still. Laughing maniacally, he says that he'll watching their deaths with a smile from the warriors' hall that Odin has prepared, while a soldier standing behind him prepares to swing his sword at his neck. He screams out Valhalla as his blood splatters. And so the story ends. The story was being narrated by Jorund Hranfast, Viking combat instructor. He's a tutorial NPC. He then says that how their king, Ragnar, fell at the hands of the ruthless Saxons, and that their mission is revenge and retribution. While he speaks, Do-hyuk and Black Oak stand there and look at him. Speaking in a loud voice, Jorund says that only those who earn a warrior's recognition can become true warriors, and asks who will be the first to become Odin's warrior. Black Oak tells Do-hyuk how in normal game mode Jorund teaches the players parrying and combat techniques. He then says, but in reality mode one must warn Jorund's recognition to gain the basic qualification to play Valhalla. Black Oak dashes forward with dual axes equipped, says that he'll be first to give it a try. With a huge grin on his face, Black Oak says to the viewers, if they remember that he defeated a knight with a sword and shield setup, and that even if dual weapons are hard, it's just swapping a sword and shield for axes. Standing in front of Jorund, Black Oak thinks to himself that he once already attempted reality mode in Rise of Valhalla. Jorund looks at the first warrior to come forward, that is, Black Oak, with a grin on his face. Jorund sneers at him for trying to use dual axes, and says how it's been a while since he saw a rookie foolish enough to wield enough a weapon in each hand. Holding up his huge two-handed axe, he laughingly says that he'll teach him how to properly use axes, telling him to come at him while calling him a rookie. With a single leap towards Yorund, directly appearing in front of him, Black Oak fiercely says that he'll make him take it back, that rookie remark. While about to swing his axe, Black Oak thinks to himself that though dual-wielding are difficult to handle, they have their own advantages, and one of them is the element of surprise that comes from having two weapons. Perfectly blocking his first axe attack, putting his two-handed axe vertically straight to his side. Yorund, after having blocked the first attack, laughs and tells him that his attacks are too weak. Working off his strategy, first luring the enemy into defending, then catching him off guard with a dual-axe combo. Suddenly a fist comes bashing into his face. With a heavy punch to his face, Black Oak is crushed into the ground. After getting punched, defeated, Black Oak just stood there on all fours, trembling while the viewers made fun of him for trying to be preposterous. Letting out a sigh, Yorund calls the sight of Black Oak pathetic, and tells him that he's no warrior and should rather go find work as a kitchen hand or something. Ignoring him, Yorund calls for the next challenger to step forward. Do Hyuk comes from behind and asks Black Oak if he's all right, irritated by Yorund for calling kitchen hand. He asks Do Hyuk if his dual axe okay was really that terrible. With a straight face, Do Hyuk says that rather than calling it terrible, isn't it that he basically did nothing? Totally flabbergasted by the comment Do Hyuk made, he just silently looks at him while the viewers continue to make fun of Black Oak. Do Hyuk then adds how all he did was just get beat up, irritated and crying. He tells him to stop it already in an irritated tone. Looking at his axes, Do Hyuk says that though dual axes may look flashy, but in reality, they have to be handled in a really straightforward way. Letting out a sigh, he tells Black Oak if he had seen his It Kills play, then he'd understand better. With a tired expression on his face, Black Oak how he watched it for hours, all while trying to follow along until his muscles were sore. Dramatically putting his hand over his mouth while tears well up in his eyes, Do Hyuk stands there surprised, touched. Really touched by Black Oak's words, he reassures him through his tears to hang in there no matter how hopeless he is at fighting. Do Hyuk then receives his first mission, a 100,001 mission, to which replies that this would be his first mission, while Black Oak thinks to himself only if he could lunch Do Hyuk. Suddenly, more viewers donate money commissioning Do Hyuk to beat Yorund. Do Hyuk first expresses his gratitude for their donations, then asks if Yorund is really that difficult to beat, to which Black Oak replies that Yorund is a retired berserker vice-captain. While looking at Yorund fighting others, he says how he's pretty strong even in mid-game, while Yorund says how his opponent's attacks just tickle him. Defeating his opponent with a single punch, he says out loud how pathetic his current opponent is that he can't even watch anymore. Yorund then asks out loudly as to who's going to challenge him next. The viewers start to bicker amongst themselves, to which Do Hyuk simply tells them not to. While holding his axe up, Do Hyuk says that simply just winning seems too easy. While holding his axe pointing towards Yorund, Do Hyuk says that if he wins within 10 seconds, then that counts as a mission clear. Viewers then start to donate money issuing the mission to defeat Yorund within 10 seconds. As Do Hyuk said, then they go back to troll how Yorund isn't Black Oak, and can at least last 10 seconds, to which Black Oak says that if it was with Sword Shield, then he wouldn't even need 3 seconds. The viewers then troll him again, to which he reacts pissed off, while Do Hyuk walks toward Yorund with his axes. Holding his one hand up and forward, he invites Do Hyuk into the fight, saying if he's worthy of wielding dual axes. Do Hyuk then suddenly throws off one of his axes towards Yorund. Yorund, without breaking a sweat, parries it. Do Hyuk then suddenly charges ahead, appearing right in front of Yorund, striking him heavily, which Yorund easily blocks with his two-handed axe. Starting to get excited, Yorund praises how a worthy opponent has finally appeared. Having gotten back the axe that he threw, Do Hyuk thinks to himself that this one's different from before, even though his combat skills did stand out a bit against Black Oak. With a serious glint forming in his eyes, Do Hyuk thinks to himself if he trained by learning from battle datas and refining his techniques. He then remembers that such a method was called reinforcement learning. While looking at Yorund, he thinks how there must be even stronger NPCs beyond Yorund, and how his real combat experience surpasses all of them. With a determined look in his eyes, he gets into his fighting stance, exuding a golden aura from his body. Yorund commends Do Hyuk for showing his fighting spirit. Yorund then dashes right towards Do Hyuk with his two-handed axe in an about-to-swing position. Putting his axes up against it, Do Hyuk blocks his attack with both of his axes. As he blocks it, sparks go flying with their weapons clashing against each other. Grunting through his teeth, Yorund applies more force to their clashing. With more force applied to their weapons clashing against each other sends Do Hyuk flying backward, making him realize that Yorund's strength is one level above his. Do Hyuk tries to turn his body while still being mid-air. Having successfully turned, Do Hyuk then kicks in his direction, which Yorund easily blocks with his two-handed axe, making Do Hyuk be able to block his consecutive attacks. He then places his other leg above Yorund's weapon and pulls it down, sealing off his weapon. Jumping up after pulling down his weapon, Do-hyuk is in mid-air, while Yorund has slightly lost his balance. Do-hyuk then kicks him on the chin, which makes his head get thrown backward with him spitting blood. Yorund suddenly grabs him by his pants. Angered, Yorund slightly curses at him while spitting blood through his teeth. Yorund then gets in position to swing his axe at the trapped Do-hyuk. Suddenly making a flip, Do-hyuk dodges it just by an inch or so. After his flip, he ends up behind Yorund while still being in mid-air. Do-hyuk then kicks him in the back with his legs using the momentum from his flip. Cursing at him, Yorund turns towards Do-hyuk. Before he could fully turn, Do-hyuk stops him from doing so by putting his axe right behind his neck. With his axe behind Yorund's neck, Do-hyuk announces that the match is over. A notification then pops up saying that the mission was a success. Black Oak just stood there finding it hard to believe what he just saw and how Do-hyuk actually defeated Yorund within 10 seconds as he said. The viewers congratulate Do-hyuk on defeating Yorund, to which Do-hyuk looks up and shows his gratitude towards them. Looking at Do-hyuk, Yorund says that was a strong hit and how it's like he's watching the son of Odin himself. Excited on Do-hyuk receiving that praise, Black Oak says how being called the son of Odin is the highest Viking praise. Looking at Do-hyuk, Yorund asks him what his name is. With a hand on his waist, Do-hyuk says that his name is Gunnar. Gunnar, Do-hyuk, is the protagonist of Rise of Valhalla. Yorund praises his name, calling it a magnificent name befitting a Viking, while a notification window pops up saying that Yorund acknowledges Do-hyuk. Another window pops up saying that a quest has been assigned. The quest is for Do-hyuk to earn the recognition of warriors. He has only been recognized by 1 out of 5. Seeing that Do-hyuk looks up at the panel, excitedly, Black Oak looks up at the viewers' comments and asks if something like Yorund giving out a quest has ever been revealed. The viewers agree with Black Oak as to how something like this hasn't ever happened before, to which Do-hyuk turns towards Black Oak and asks him if this is a rare trigger. Looking at Do-hyuk excited, Black Oak says that this is a side quest and not just anyone can receive it, and it's called the Odin's Son quest. He then says that if a player earns recognition from warriors 5 times, then they receive the title Son of Odin through his side quest. He continues that whether or not one has the title Son of Odin is a symbol that determines if they're a Valhalla pro or not. Continuing, he says that this is the first time Odin's Son quest has appeared, but this is the first time it's been triggered in the tutorial zone. He continues that though Yorund has been defeated in the tutorial before, he has never been known to give the Odin's Son quest before. Putting out his hand, he says that maybe the unlock condition was tied to the clear time, and since Do-hyuk defeated Yorund within 10 seconds, then the threshold is probably between 10 and 30 seconds, and defeating Yorund within that time will result in the Odin's Son quest popping up. Putting his hand on his chin, Do-hyuk says realizing that there's a time limit. A viewer then comments how Do-hyuk is going to get called Odin's Son from the beginning, while Black Oak has been called Kitchen Hand, even after multiple playthroughs, seeing that Black Oak reacts depressingly. Annoyed by the constant trolls, he says that it's not that he's bad, it's just that Do-hyuk is an absolute freak. Putting his hand on Black Oak's shoulder, Do-hyuk says that it's just like Black Oak said that one shouldn't wield dual axes if you don't have the talent. Clearing his throat, Do-hyuk says that it's not that Black Oak is untalented, it's just that he doesn't have quite the talent to wield dual axes. Viewers then start to troll him again. In reaction to that, tears flow down like a fountain from his eyes, with him making a grinding noise with his teeth. Pulling out his sword irritatedly, Black Oak says that he admits it if Do-hyuk tells him he lacks the talent, but he refuses to hear it from the viewers. Holding a short sword in one hand and a shield in another, Black Oak says that this time he'll earn Yorund's recognition with his main weapon. Do-hyuk then cheers on him, wishing him luck, to which the viewers comment that Do-hyuk's cheer was really half-hearted and insincere. Irritated by the viewers' comments, Black Oak looks up irritatedly, with tears welling up in his eyes, as he tells them to stop killing his motivation. Suddenly, a viewer makes a point, saying that Black Oak is still in the top 5% of Valhalla players, and if it weren't for Do-hyuk being on a totally different level, Black Oak is actually pretty decent himself. Hearing that, Black Oak's mood suddenly lightens a bit. Irritated by their trolls, getting into a fighting stance, gritting his teeth with tears welling up in his eyes, Black Oak says that he'll prove it that he's no less than Do-hyuk, and make them eat their words. Holding his two-handed axe up, Yorund taunts Black Oak, and so Black Oak dashes towards him, appearing right in front of him, yelling that he'll make him eat his words too. He then swings his sword at Yorund, which he blocks with his two-handed axe. Yorund then pushes back his sword by swinging his axe, calling him weak. While yelling at him that if he wants to break through his defense, then he should make his strikes heavier, he dashes towards Black Oak as he's about to punch him. Black Oak ducks and dodges his punch, making a movement indicating that he's about to bash his shield into Yorund. Black Oak then swings his shield in Yorund's direction, seemingly hitting him. Yorund seems to have blocked that attack. Then grinning at him, he says that's the fighting spirit he wants. Excited with the way the current fight is going, Yoran then kicks Black Oak, pushing him back. Excited by the turn of events with a huge grin on his face, he then jumps at Black Oak with his arms open, about to swing his axe with one hand. With Yoran finally swinging down his axe at Black Oak, he manages to block it at the right moment. Black Oak stands there, perfectly defending against that heavy attack. Black Oak then suddenly swings his sword at Yoran, which he easily dodges. A small cut has appeared on Yoran's face, ignoring that he just praises Black Oak for his moves. Saying out loud how it's not over, Yoran swings a punch at him and it lands. Calling himself the Great Black Oak of Valhalla, he keeps pushing forward with his strikes at Yorund, while Do-hyuk watches them fight from the sidelines. Do-hyuk comments at how wielding a sword and shield is making a big difference in Black Oak's skills. He's able to measure the distance better, and that his shield techniques look more refined than when he only has an axe. Black Oak then heavily falls onto the ground, letting out a grunt. While he's just about to get up, he suddenly notices an axe right beside his neck. Yoran stands in front of Black Oak, with the sun shining behind Yoran's head. He says that this is the end. With a small grin on his face, Yoran remarks how switching weapons makes him more useful. Suddenly a notification pops up saying that Yoran acknowledges Black Oak. Turning towards the other warriors, Yoran announces that today's sparring ends here and that they're all dismissed. Do-hyuk supports the exhausted Black Oak, pulling him back on his feet while praising him having worked hard, to which Black Oak says that he finally earned Yoran's approval. With a serious look on his face, Yoran turns towards Do-hyuk and Black Oak, asking them if they're confident in hunting. Putting his hand up, Black Oak reacts positively, saying that he's quite an archer. He then issues them a mission, to join the hunting team and secure some food, to which they respond positively, and then a notification about hunting shows up. With the moon up in the sky, they're still hunting, and have already caught 4 out of 5 animals, with holding a dead rabbit in its hands. Black Oak stands in front of Do-hyuk, showing it to him. Black Oak then turns to ask him if he's ever shot a bow before, as he's just been watching all this time. Looking at the bow he's holding in his hands, Do-hyuk says that though he has played with toy bows a few times, it's his first time holding an actual bow. Pointing at the tree in front of them, Black Oak asks Do-hyuk if he would like to practice with that tree. Putting the arrow in his bow, Do-hyuk first controls his breathing, then carefully takes aim. He then lets go of the bowstring and his arrow flies forward, but instead of hitting the tree it goes and accidentally hits the huge boulder beside it. Seeing that, Black Oak lightly bursts out laughing, seeing him miss the shot. The viewers speak positively of Do-hyuk, saying that if he's not shot before, then it's tough, to which Do-hyuk thinks that he'll get the hang of it after a few more tries. Laughing with an idiotic expression on his face, he tells Do-hyuk not to worry, as Black Oak will teach him how to shoot a bow. Proudly calling himself the Robin Hood of Valhalla, he tells Do-hyuk to just trust in him. The viewers then comment how Black Oak is getting excited over something he's good at, while another viewer says that he misses 4 shots out of 10, to which Black Oak replies saying landing that many is pretty impressive as well. Suddenly Do-hyuk notices a deer standing behind them. Pushing aside Do-hyuk by his face, Black confidently steps forward. Pointing his arrow at the deer, Black Oak thinks to himself that bows are weapons that take a lot of time to master, and decides to show off his archery skills he honed in Valhalla and other medieval games. Shouting out 1 shot, 1 kill, Black Oak lets go of his bowstring and his arrow flies forward in the direction of the deer. Unfortunately, he misses his shot, with his arrow hitting the tree a few inches above the deer's head. The deer then turns away, starting to run away from them. Seeing that, Black Oak gets in position to shoot again, while Do-hyuk, standing beside him, takes out an axe from his waist. Do-hyuk then pushes aside Black Oak by his face and simply tells him to step aside. With sudden movements, Do-hyuk throws his axe at the deer. The axe hits the running deer, beheading it with a clean cut. Totally amazed by what Do-hyuk just did, Black Oak just stood beside him with his lower jaw falling down in awe, while Do-hyuk walks forward saying it's not that difficult, and it's just to predict where the target is headed and throw it there. While the viewers comment on how simply Do-hyuk just throws an axe, Do-hyuk goes forward picking his axe up. Suddenly a notification pops up saying that they have completed their hunting mission. Suddenly a linked quest pops in front of them, to which they both look up at. The quest says that Saxon soldiers are targeting the Viking stronghold, planning their ambush above a mountain from which the Viking camp is visible. One of 3 Saxon soldiers, scouting, says about how a group of Vikings moved out earlier, and at most there are 10 enemies left in the camp. One of the soldiers calls the other, telling him to quickly inform the captain, to which the other soldiers obey, and tell the first soldier to continue to keep watch. After receiving the scout's report, the Saxon army decided to attack, cursing at the Vikings. The person commanding the soldiers tells them to send the Vikings straight to hell. This person in command is Carolingian Saxon, an elite warrior. Another notification pops up telling both Black Oak and Do-hyuk to return back to the camp before the enemies arrive, with the next notification popping up saying that they have only 8 minutes left, gripping his axe tighter. Do-hyuk remarks that the real game is finally starting. Suddenly a viewer then gives out a challenge to Do-hyuk, saying that he'll get 5,000 won for each kill he makes. Looking up at the challenge, Do-hyuk expresses his gratitude towards such an offer. Pointing with his finger, Black Oak says that he knows just the way back to the camp and tells Do-hyuk that they should hurry back. Confused with what Black Oak just said, Do-hyuk questions about where to head back. Turning towards Do-hyuk, Black Oak says that they need to return to the stronghold, and that more Vikings will die depending on how late they get there. Making a point, Do-hyuk asks if they can't just intercept them on the way. Excitedly, Do-hyuk says that it's 5,000 won per kill, and how that it'd be a waste for the Saxon soldiers to be killed by the Vikings. Equally shocked and confused with what Do-hyuk just said, Black Oak asks unbelievably if Do-hyuk is saying it is for them to take down all the 20 soldiers all by themselves. Without further ado, energetically Do-hyuk says that they shouldn't have any more time and move forward. Black Oak walks behind him, still questioning Do-hyuk if he's sure about his decision, while they move forward through the forest. Carolingian commands the soldiers to stay alert of their surroundings, and that they'll soon reach the enemy's base. Suddenly an axe flies their way, hitting a soldier on its head, and he falls back. Worried as to what just happened, Carolingian screams out, saying that it's an ambush, letting all his soldiers know through his scream. Looking at the way the axe came from, he sees Do-hyuk and Black Oak, surprised to see just 2 Vikings standing in front of a 20-person army. Carolingian then taunts them, saying what can just 2 people even do against them. Soon after, Do-hyuk charges forward without listening to what Black Oak was saying. Screaming out, Carolingian says that they must have lost their minds, and then commands his soldiers to get ready to attack them. Running towards them, about to swing his axe, Do-hyuk says loudly about the rule first come, first serve rule. Instead of swinging his axe, Do-hyuk throws it at a soldier, which the soldier blocks with his shield. Dashing forward, Do-hyuk hits the soldier's face with his elbow. His axe comes off from the wooden shield. Do-hyuk then grabs his axe while it is in midair. He then swings it down, beheading the soldier he just elbowed, while continuing to dash forward. Suddenly a soldier swings his sword from behind Do-hyuk, which he dodges by ducking. While in momentum, he turns around and swings his hand, hitting the soldier's chin. After getting hit by Do-hyuk, the soldier flies backward. Carolingian looks slightly worried as to how easily Do-hyuk hit the soldier, and then kills him with his axe as he fell. Angered from watching his soldiers die like that, Carolingian curses at him, asking him if he can't stop in anger, with a viewer asking if Black Oak is going to join in on the fight or not, to which he replies that he is getting to it, while Do-hyuk stands there with soldiers limiting his movement. Suddenly jumping and appearing in front of Carolingian, swinging his sword at Carolingian, which he blocks with his sword, Black Oak says that he'll prove his skills through this battle with the elite warrior Carolingian. Do-hyuk beheads another soldiers, with a viewer announcing that Do-hyuk has already taken down 6 soldiers. Talking to himself, Do-hyuk asks if this is a hexakill he just did, while wondering if Black Oak is fighting well, while Do-hyuk is still surrounded by soldiers. Do-hyuk's eyes suddenly falls on Black Oak getting pushed back by the elite warrior Carolingian, with him calling out to Do-hyuk for help. With a straight face, Do-hyuk tells himself that Black Oak looks fine. Getting pushed back, Black Oak shouts at Do-hyuk to save him. While Black Oak gets pushed onto the ground with getting hit by Carolingian constantly, which Black Oak blocks with his shield, Do-hyuk says that first he's going to focus on reducing the numbers, hearing that Black Oak curses at Do-hyuk. Suddenly a soldier dashes forward, thrusting his sword at Do-hyuk, which Do-hyuk easily dodges by falling a bit backwards. After dodging that soldier, he then beheads him, cutting off an arm of a soldier, while slashing through his chest as he dashes towards another soldier. Slashing through one soldier, he goes to another. Do-hyuk goes around slaughtering the soldiers, slashing some normally while beheading the others, looking like a madman. He continues to break through their shields and kill them in one strike. Do-hyuk stands around corpses of dead soldiers. The viewers excitedly comment on how only 6 soldiers are left. Looking at the hesitant expression on the face of the soldiers, the viewers comment on how the soldiers look scared to face Do-hyuk. Do-hyuk thinks to himself in confusion that the NPCs are scared even though it's a game. He then asks while talking to himself if the soldiers are seriously thinking of running away. Suddenly, Carolingian shouts at the soldiers to not be afraid and keep fighting while he himself keeps bashing his sword on Black Oak's shield. Suddenly, a sword falls to the ground with a person saying that he's too afraid to do anything. And so the remaining soldiers run away, calling Do-hyuk a monster as he stands in between a pile of corpses, and how they're sure to die if they were to keep fighting any longer. While the remaining soldiers run away, Do-hyuk gets in position to throw his axe at them. His axe suddenly flies towards them, passing across one soldier, beheading the other. The other soldier, shouting in horror, looks back at Do-hyuk with tears welling in his eyes. And then he also gets beheaded by Do-hyuk's other axe flying his way. A viewer then asks Do-hyuk how he is going to hunt them now that both his axes are gone, to which Do-hyuk says that he'll just use a bow instead. Another viewer asks if the axe mission ends here, to which Do-hyuk replies that he has a plan. Do-hyuk then shoots and his arrow misses the soldier. Looking at his bow, Do-hyuk says that he now understands how he should shoot. Pointing his arrow towards the running soldier, Do-hyuk says that he's going to do it properly this time. Do-hyuk then shoots his arrow and it goes and hits the soldier in his thigh. He then shoots another arrow, hitting another soldier's thigh. After rendering all the soldiers unable to stand, he runs towards one of them with his axe, ready to swing down at him to behead him. Turning towards Do-hyuk, the soldier begs him to spare his life and let him live. Ignoring his pleas, Do-hyuk swings down at him, killing him. He then turns to another soldier who's trying to crawl to safety, away from Do-hyuk. That soldier then turns around facing Do-hyuk, pleading with him to not come to him. With tears welling in his eyes, he screams in fear, realizing that Do-hyuk won't stop. Looking at the corpse of the dead soldier lying in front of him, Do-hyuk says how easy it was for him. A viewer then asks him about how he improved his bow attack in short a such time. Do-hyuk replies saying that he just tried shooting a few times and it worked. Looking at his axe, he tightens his grip, saying that it's only Carolingian left to deal with. Do-hyuk then notices Black Oak fighting against Carolingian, blocking all his attacks while whining to Do-hyuk to come and save him. Carolingian then suddenly diagonally swings his sword, telling Black Oak as to where he's looking while fighting him, to which Black Oak dodges by falling to the ground. Looking at Black Oak's movements, Do-hyuk points out that this isn't how he's supposed to roll after dodging an attack. Black Oak screams lying on the ground, unable to defend himself from the incoming attack. Do-hyuk suddenly jumps in between them, pushing away Carolingian's sword with his axe, while Black Oak, with his hands in front of his face, lies there sitting. Pissed off seeing Do-hyuk, Carolingian reaches out to him, which Do-hyuk dodges by turning around. Making a complete 360 degrees turn, he slashes through Carolingian's neck, beheading him. Looking at the kneeling Black Oak, Do-hyuk asks him if he's okay. Looking up at Do-hyuk while rubbing the sweat off his chin, he says that Do-hyuk could have helped sooner. Looking at Black Oak, Do-hyuk apologizes first, and says that he didn't think Black Oak needed any help. With a slight pout on his face, Do-hyuk says about how people get angry if one steals their kills, and how it didn't look like much of a crisis situation to him. Pointing at Do-hyuk, Black Oak irritatedly, with tears sticking out of his eyes, says that if that wasn't a crisis situation, then what is? To which Do-hyuk replies that at least a severed arm or spilled-out intestines would be crisis enough. Pissed off, Black Oak says as to how Do-hyuk's type of crisis situations would kill a person, to which Do-hyuk just stands here fidgeting. While they talk to each other, suddenly a voice from behind calls out to Do-hyuk, Gunner, while running towards them. Hearing that voice, realizing that it might be Yorund, Black Oak turns back to see. Yorund then passes through Black Oak by pushing him away by his face. Yorund then holds Do-hyuk's shoulders. In worry, he asks him if he's okay and if he's hurt anywhere, to which Do-hyuk replies that he's fine. Writhing in pain from having pushed back by his face, he tries to get up while asking Yorund to notice him too. Two more Vikings come calling out to Gunner and Yorund, crushing Black Oak under their feet. Suddenly, another Viking comes and informs them that there are no more enemies in the vicinity, while another Viking asks if Do-hyuk is injured, while Black Oak lies there on the ground with tears flowing down from his eyes, coughing. He decides to just log out for today. Do-hyuk replies that he's fine. While turning to Black Oak, he gets a notification saying that Black Oak just logged out. Ignoring everything else, Yorund just says that he's just glad Do-hyuk isn't hurt. Do-hyuk thinks to himself if this the end of the tutorial, and that if the open world starts from here. Turning towards his viewers, Do-hyuk asks them what should he do now. A new 500,001 challenge pops from a viewer commissioning him to defeat Stone-Fist Beowolf with his currently equipment, and if he does that, then the viewer says that he'll add 500 more to his reward. Do-hyuk says, though he doesn't know who this Beowulf is, but for 1,000,001 he'll do his best. Hearing him say that, Yorund asks him if he's thinking of fighting Beowulf. He then repeats saying how that would be too much for him alone. Yorund then says that he'll join him, to which Do-hyuk acts a bit confused. Suddenly a notification pops up saying that companion recruitment is now available. Seeing that notification, he turns and asks the viewers about what this companion recruitment is, to which a viewer replies that when he blows a horn, a companion just shows up and helps. After agreeing with the chief, Yorund, to come with him, they both take a horse and set out. While riding the horse, Do-hyuk about who this Beowulf is. With a slight serious look on his face, Yorund says that Beowulf was once a brave warrior who used to serve the king. But after the king died, he lost his honor. While they continue to move forward on the horses, Yoren says that he's heard that Beowulf is somewhere in West Sussex raiding nearby villages. A notification window pops up telling Do-hyuk to find Beowulf and receive a warrior's recognition. They suddenly come to a halt at a cliff. Standing on that cliff, Yoren says that they've now arrived at Beowulf's camp. Handing out a horn to Do-hyuk, Yoren says that he has an old connection to Beowulf, and if he's in need of strength, he just needs to blow on the horn, and Yoren will be there to help. Taking the horn from Yoren's hands, Do-hyuk says that he'll go ahead and suddenly ride down the cliff with his horse. Suddenly, a man guarding the camp notices a person rushing towards them on a horse. That person is Do-hyuk. Do-hyuk says that he just needs to break through all these guys to find Beowulf. Holding up their spears towards Do-hyuk, the guards warn him to stop. Standing up while riding his horse, Do-hyuk shouts out saying that a brave Viking never resorts to sneak attacks. Do-hyuk then breaks through Beowulf's camp's main door. A person then yells out saying that there's an attack. While still on horse, Do-hyuk takes out his bow and starts shooting. His arrows perfectly hit them right in between their eyebrows, and then they fall to the ground, hitting another person in the back of his neck, instantly killing him. Holding up their spears, other people about out to kill him and stab him. And they end up stabbing, but they stab his horse as he stands up on his two legs, seeing sharp objects in front of him, neighing in pain as he's getting stabbed. Do-hyuk, having jumped off the horse in midair, attacks the ones stabbing the horse from up above. With a bunch of arrows flying towards them, hitting their heads and body, they all fall. Do-hyuk then lands on the ground with an heroic pose. Do-hyuk suddenly notices that there's a person standing behind him. They all shout to each other to raise their shields. Seeing them put up shields, Do-hyuk empties his hand of the bow he was holding and takes out his axes. Pointing his axes towards them, he says that he'll simply just clear them with his axes. Holding their shields up with a sword in their hands, people dash towards Do-hyuk, while Do-hyuk dashes towards them. Dodging the first-person sword slash, he gets to his side, ready to swing his axe. Do-hyuk then swings his axe, slashing along his abdomen. In momentum, he decides to hit the people holding shields. A shielded person gets ready to stab Do-hyuk with his sword. Do-hyuk sticks his axe onto his shield, pushing it away while creating an opening for him to strike at the person. With a single swing downward, he cleanly cuts off the head of that person, while another, cursing at Do-hyuk, sneaks up at him from behind, ready to swing his sword at Do-hyuk. Dodging his attack, Do-hyuk dashes forward, pushing the other person off the ground with his physical strength, all while holding on to that person. Suddenly, another person commands the archers to fire at Do-hyuk, and they do so as told. Do-hyuk uses the person he held onto as meat shield, and continues to dash forward. He then throws that person off of himself into the air towards the people who were shooting at him. A strong-looking person pushes aside the body Do-hyuk threw at him, telling if he's naive to think that such a cheap trick would work here. With fierce-looking eyes, Do-hyuk dashes forward while killing off the archers beside this person and appears right in front of him, catching him off guard. Do-hyuk then slashes at this strong-looking person diagonally towards the ground. While this strong-looking person is on his knees, Do-hyuk decides to swing down his axe once again. Sweating from fear, snot flowing down from his nose, this strong-looking person screams out calling for their boss. Suddenly, an axe comes flying from somewhere towards Do-hyuk. With an unbothered look on his face, Do-hyuk easily parries it. A huge Viking wearing a helmet with horns on its sides with a huge shield and axe enters this person, his stone fist Beowulf, and tells Do-hyuk to stop. Looking bright, the kneeling person then turns his head and says that this is the guy who's been wreaking havoc in their camp. Do-hyuk simply tells him to shut up and cuts his head off. Seeing him behead his subordinate, Beowulf curses at Do-hyuk. Do-hyuk then swings his axe, splashing off the blood off of it, tells Beowulf that there's no time to waste and taunts him to come at him. Cursing at him, Beowulf takes out his weapon from his back. Suddenly, he dashes towards Do-hyuk, appearing right in front of him, yelling out loud as to how he's going to make him regret ever coming here. In another game, a person knocks his opponent down, standing in a pose with his fist held up high, glowing. This person who just won, his name is Anatole. A notification pops up saying that Anatole wins. Then Anatole turns towards his followers, greeting them. This game is Iron Fist. A viewer then asks if this is Anatole's first time streaming after the Iron Fist World Tournament, to which Anatole replies positively. Suddenly, another viewer asks him how's his mental health, to which he replies he's fine now, and that he also took a few days off to get himself together. Tightening his fist, thinking to himself, Anatole says that how people back in Ultimate Fighter used to think that Anatole winning the world championship is given, and how he used to take home world titles like it was nothing. Thinking back about the Iron Fist World Tournament, he says while thinking to himself that his best record was only making it to the semi-finals. Pointing his finger towards the viewers, thinking to himself how he still can't just give up like this, he says to his viewers that how about they take a trip back home just for today. He then snaps and an interface showing the current number of viewers pops up. Iron Fist closes and he ends up in his lobby with Ultimate Fighter game about to start. As soon as the interface saying that Ultimate Fighter is going to start, the number of viewers if Anatole strat to drop, putting a hand over his head as if looking to a farther distance, Anatole says, as how it's been over a year since he last logged into Ulti Fight. Snapping again, he decides to go with his old alternate, Hoken. He then suddenly get into his character, martial artist Hoken. He then asks the computer to find him a match. Computer then starts the search for a match. Jian calls out to Do Hyuk to come and take a look at how the viewer's response to Do Hyuk's fight against Stonefist Beowolf, with over 100,000 people having watched the video, with comments filled with the viewers praising and admiring Do Hyuk's otherworldly skills. Pointing at the TV, John, seemingly impressed, tells Do Hyuk that there's already a meme from his stream. Turning to Do Hyuk, excited, John mentions that at this rate, Do Hyuk's stream will do just fine even without her, and that also means that he'll need for work harder. With a warm and gentle smile on his face, Do Hyuk says that it's all thanks to Jian working so hard managing his stream today. Letting out a yam, John says that she's going to bed and that Do Hyuk should get some rest too. As Jian goes back, Do Hyuk speaks to himself that it'd be a waste to just go to sleep tonight and thinks about trying Iron Fist as it's trending. Walking towards his room, he decides that he's rather just play Ulti Fight and reach Transcendent Tier first, and that with just one win, he's going to rank up to Grandmaster. He enters his room and then closes it, still talking to himself. He says that the friend request he sent to that sword-wielding girl, whenever he checks she always seemed to be offline, wondering if she quit the game. He then walks into his capsule and sits, and asks the computer to start full dive. He then enters the lobby, with computer searching for opponents in the ranked game. Computer then shows a player's name after finding a match. Seeing that there are 0 wins, 0 losses, Do Hyuk speaks to himself if this is an old account the player is trying to revive after a long break. Without further thinking, Do Hyuk accepts it. Do Hyuk's opponent is none other than Anatole. Anatole is looking at the matched interface and exclaims calmly after seeing that Do Hyuk has a 100% win rate. He estimates that maybe his opponent is somewhere between a Grandmaster and Transcendent while looking at the matched interface. He then asks his viewers if this looks like someone's Smurf account. The viewers then mention of him being seen in that sword-wielding girl's stream, calling him the Taunt God, to which Anatole asks what's that. After hearing all the crazy and interesting comments about Do Hyuk from the viewers, Anatole looks somewhat interested in fighting him now. Talking to himself, he says that let's see if they can pull something like that against him, and so he accepts the matchmaking. And Do Hyuk suddenly appears in front of Anatole. Cracking his knuckles, Anatole says confidently that he'll try to guess who this mysterious expert really is. Getting into a fighting stance, he calls Do Hyuk to come at him. Taunting him, Do Hyuk says that why don't Anatole come at him? With a smirk forming on his face, he asks if he's looking down on him, Anatole. Anatole then dashes forward towards Do Hyuk, shouting out how he'll make him eat his words. Anatole dashes towards Do Hyuk with a blazing fist, letting out smoke, ready to punch. Suddenly then kicks him diagonally, which Anatole dodges by ducking. Anatole then holds his leg while his other leg is still in air from the kick he just made. Jerking his leg off slowly, Anatole throws Do Hyuk completely off balance. Gritting his teeth, Anatole turns around to punch him. Do Hyuk decides to block it by putting his hands in front of his face while being upside down in midair. Do Hyuk blocks off against that attack of Anatole, getting a little pushed back. Suddenly, with his leg nearing Anatole's face, Anatole thinks to himself about how crazy is that for him to have blocked that attack while still being midair. With his kick finally making contact with his face, Anatole goes flying into the ground, bashing his face on it. Do Hyuk then lunges towards Anatole with his blazing fist attack. While getting up from the ground, Anatole suddenly notices that attack. Pushing the ground with his hands, Anatole dodges that attack. Viewers start rambling about how even if it's been a year, Anatole shouldn't be getting pushed back, and how Hoken used to be Anatole's main pick in early Anatole Alpha. Viewers keep commenting on how Anatole's instincts are dead, and that he might have let his guard down after a while. Reading their comments, Anatole thinks to himself that it's not just that. Do Hyuk's skills are one thing, but in that previous exchange just now, he felt a strange unease. Looking at Do Hyuk, he continues to think that if he doesn't figure out what that is, then he'd actually lose this round. Anatole decides to test his opponent's reaction speed and choose to use dash attack. While Do Hyuk punches at him, Anatole suddenly ducks and dodges the attacks, and he's just about to grab Do Hyuk's thighs and restrict his movement. Just when he thought he got him, he sees Do Hyuk's knee coming towards his face. With great reaction speed, Anatole dodges that attack by falling to the ground. He then slides backward, creating some distance between him and Do Hyuk, thinking how Do Hyuk instantly reacted to a close-range counter, or if it was just luck favoring him. Do Hyuk then dashes towards him, pulling back his hand, ready to punch. Dodging his punch, Anatole goes to grab his hand by his armpit. Do Hyuk grabs Anatole's hand on its track as it was about to grab him. He then elbows his joint vertically downwards. Pulling on his hand, he elbows him again in his chin. While getting elbowed, Anatole thinks of how he's reading all his timings. Thinking if anything isn't working, then he decides to attack him from the blind spot behind his shoulder. Do-hyuk easily dodges it by ducking as he attacked. Do-hyuk then pushes him back with a huge impact, gasping as he goes flying, thinking if that attack just now was really the Iron Mountain reversal. Do-hyuk dashes and punches him, which Anatole parries, all while thinking that a reversal with no prep animation is not possible, and that in Alpha's skill system, Iron Mountain reversal only triggers after a specific charge stance. Blocking off his continuous attacks, Anatole thinks to himself that it's possible to skip that stance during skill execution, but that gets the timing off, and one can't output this kind of power that his opponent is currently throwing off. Viewers start commenting as to how Anatole is getting destroyed and losing in close combat, all while Anatole seemingly dodges, blocks and parries Do-hyuk's attacks. With flame bursting from below his feet, Do-hyuk gets ready to execute a flaming attack, to which Anatole realizes that it's the Crimson Flame Kick. Just when he was about to back off, he realizes that the energy of the Crimson Flame Kick is cutting off his retreat. With worry clearly visible from his face, he says how after the stance comes the actual strike. That is, a finisher that forces a one-sided face-off, shocked at how Do-hyuk is thinking of using such a wide-arc skill in close range like the one they're in. Delusioning himself that through Crimson Flame Kick hits hard, but after a specific motion it can't be cancelled. If he makes even the slightest mistake, then it'll be his chance to shine. Right when Do-hyuk's legs were getting to his face, Anatole suddenly dodges it by ducking down, thinking that if he just reads the timing, then dodging it is a piece of cake. Anatole then jumps at him, ready to strike back using the recovery delay from Crimson Flame Kick to land a massive hit with his blazing fist. Right when he thought that victory is in his palms now, Do-hyuk changes the direction of his kick, reversing it back, hitting Anatole directly on his face. Having gotten slightly thrown off balance, Anatole thinks to himself that ignore skill penalties, one would have to manually input every motion. Finally, he understands the strange feeling he has been getting. While getting continuously punched by Do-hyuk, Anatole realizes that Do-hyuk never once relied on auto-input corrects. As Anatole falls to the ground, Do-hyuk compliments him by saying that he's got some skill. While respawning, Anatole thinks to himself if it is really possible to use pinpoint skill activation without correction. He decides to confirm it, and so asks Do-hyuk for another match, to which Do-hyuk agrees, telling him to come at him. Shouting out, he dashes towards Do-hyuk. Once again, getting beaten to a pulp, Anatole loses to Do-hyuk. He respawns again, pleading to him for one more match. With a bruised-up face, he lies there on the ground, while Do-hyuk looks tired after fighting 5 times in a row, and tells him to call it a day for now, which Anatole agrees. Do-hyuk then checks his record, and an interface pops up saying that he has won 26 times and lost 0. Talking to himself, he says that after one more match he'll finally hit the Transcendent tier. And once he hits Transcendent tier, then the opponents he gets to fight against will be more fun. Talking to himself, he says that if his stream viewers find out that he's been playing Ultimate Fighter, to that playing solo after saying that he'll see them tomorrow, he'll surely get roasted. He then decides to hide his identity for as long as possible, and reveal it once he has reached rank 1 in Ultimate Fighter. Do-hyuk then calls out to Computer, asking it if his basic into and appearance are set to private, to which Computer replies that they have been done so and won't change unless Do-hyuk himself changes it. Computer then shows him how he looks like to other people and asks him if he'd like to change it. Do-hyuk replies that he'll just stick with his current appearance, and so Computer closes the interface, showing character appearance. Talking to himself, Do-hyuk says that if Ulti-Fight is this fun, then Iron Fist, the king of fighting games, would then clearly be more thrilling. He realizes to prepare for something like that he should make friends with people like Ramyeon, Anatole, and so he asks Computer to send him a friend request. Computer then asks Do-hyuk if he'd like to include in a message for Ramyeon. Seeing Ramyeon's gameplay, Do-hyuk decides to write something that'd cheer him on and encourage him. So Do-hyuk writes to Anatole saying that he's got talent, and that Do-hyuk's sending him a friend request, and that they should play again sometime. After reading that, his viewers start laughing, calling Do-hyuk nuts too, while Anatole just sits there not knowing how to respond. Anatole decides to accept the friend request while saying that he never expected that he'd had something like that in Ulti-Fight of all games he's played. A viewer then asks him if Anatole knows who he is, to which he replies that he has no idea as to who he is. He then decides to review the footage of the game, playing it right at the moment of the burning Crimson Kick. While reviewing the footage, Anatole thinks to himself, if not just that kick but every attack that he used was really unassisted, then chat's surely gonna blow up. Clenching his fist while thinking to himself, he says that he thought that he had this game already figured out, but there turns out to be more to master. Looking at his clenched fist, he thinks to himself that maybe the answer to his struggle in Iron Fist is here, in ulti-fight. He then turns off the replay review. With a grin showing on his face, he thinks to himself that there's no way that he's talking all the hits alone. Getting up, he decides to keep this footage a secret and not post it so that the other players who run into him messed up too. With his hands on his hips, standing, he decides to let the others experience what he felt getting destroyed by him. Banging her desk, annoyingly, John says that if it weren't for the comments on the match with Anatole not spreading over the whole forum, then Do-hyuk would have been on the Num1 highlight reel. With a nonchalant expression on her face, she mentions how her brother has just been busy with Valhalla lately, and once Do-hyuk logs in again, he'll surely mop the floor with that dude. Putting her fingers above her keyboard, about to type, she decides to make sure that Do-hyuk's ranking doesn't fall. While side-eyeing to her room's door, she says if Do-hyuk is even back yet after she told him to go get some things from the convenience store. Talking to himself as he's just about to enter the convenience store, he slightly curses at John for sending him to go and get banana milk for her. He then says that he's just doing that because he got the card. Suddenly a kid comes and accidentally hits Do-hyuk and staggers. That kid then suddenly falls on his back to the ground, with his kinfy packet falling by his knee. Do-hyuk then ducks down, offering the kid a hand and asks if he can stand up. Adjusting his glasses, the kid apologizes first. Surprised, after getting a proper view of the kid's face, he asks him if he's the big ear's Jagel Min. Surprised from hearing his name from a total stranger, he asks how he knows his nickname and name and who he is. Thinking to himself, with a surprised look on his face, if this kid is really Jagel Min, the sharp-eared tactician Jagel Min, who used to serve under him before the regression. He then remembers back to his life before regressing when he used to lead the 13th Squad of the Stray Dog units, and how Jagel Min was the one who planned all of 13th Squad's operations, the big-eared strategist. Remembering back the days, he remembers of the day when Jagel Min said how he's jealous of big guys like Do-hyuk himself. While eating from his can, Do-hyuk asks as to who gave Jagel booze this time around, to which a woman comes up from behind and tells Do-hyuk not to nag him too much. Hugging him, pushing his head into her chest, the woman says that their strategist needs some liquor to get those gears turning. Pushing himself away from that woman, he complains how the older folks always say he's cute and treat him like a kid, and seeing them everyone does that too. Holding his face in her hands, making his cute kissing face, the woman cutely calls Jagel Min tough, all while Jagel Min pushes her face away from his. Suddenly a long-haired guy comes up from behind saying that she should lay off a bit, and if she can't see that he hates it, and then says wouldn't it make more sense if she were to team up with him instead. Holding up a huge, heavy hammer in her hands, she tells the long-haired guy to screw off. Scared by her, he agrees to it. Standing in a corner while thinking to himself, the long-haired guy says that he might have pissed himself for a second. Ignoring him, the woman looks around as to where Jagel Min went to. Pointing out towards Jagel Min, Do-hyuk says that whenever Jagel Min gets drink, he'll climb somewhere high up, and then mopes around in the wind like some tragic hero. Seeing that he's at it again, the woman then asks him to come sit down as standing there like that is dangerous and she'll stop teasing him. Holding his hand up in air, he asks Do-hyuk that if he were to be strong and big like him, would he have gotten less bullied. Looking up in sorrow, he takes off his eye patch, saying that if he had been like that, then maybe his eye and his little brother. Maybe he wouldn't have lost his little brother like that. Looking back at Do-hyuk, he says that if we're as strong as Captain, strong enough to take on the extraterrestrial monsters without needing any powers, then he could have protected everyone. Before he could say any further, he falls, to which the long-haired guy suddenly catches him, saying to him to stop drinking so much if he can't hold his liquor, and how every time he gets drunk, he climbs high and starts crying about his past. Suddenly, a man emerges from behind Do-hyuk and calls him. This man is Geico. He informs that he found their base. Grabbing his sword hilt, Do-hyuk says that it's about time they moved and to leave Big Ears to Hwada and also wake up Old Man Mangtae. Walking down the stairs with his teammates, Do-hyuk says that they hit fast and clean and that breakfast is back at base. But what was waiting for them there was a trap set by the extraterrestrial monsters targeting the human resistance, with an entire division of extraterrestrial soldiers and 2 warrior-class enemies. While blocking off attacks, Jagel calls out to his dead teammates while announcing how Gwangyo has gone berserk while fighting a warrior-class extraterrestrial. She's totally lost control over the fight and is nearing her limit. He then says how the captain and the old man are both severely wounded, currently unfit for combat. While concentrating his powers in his hands, Jagel says that as the vice-captain he wants both Hwada and Mangchi to escort both captain and the old man off the battlefield. With Mangchi trying to say that she'll stay behind and help Jagel, he shouts at her to stop it and then calls out to Mangchi. Holding off the monsters with his shield, he tells Mangchi that the only thing that can hold off against these monsters is his shield. While stuttering in his words, he tells them to stick to the plan and take care of the captain for him. With Wada holding Do-hyuk and Mangchi holding the old man, they run from there while Mangchi shouts with tears welling up in her eyes that Jagel better not die, and if he were to die, then she'll kill him herself. The last code of the Stray Dogs' 13th squad was that when the squad faces its final moment, then they'll save the captain and live to fight another day, that the captain must survive and complete the revenge of the Stray Dogs. That was their last vow. With the flashback ending, Do-hyuk thinks to himself how that was the last time he saw Big Ears, and now he's seeing him again in a different timeline, while he looks at Jagel Min still on his knees. Putting his hands up in a fist, Jagel asks if he's a part of Minsu's gang. Hearing the name Minsu Do-hyuk, remembers that it's that wannabe thug who swore vengeance on Big Ears. Do-hyuk says he has no idea who Minsu is, and then goes on about that he knows his name from his name tag, and when he saw his ears it made him blurt out Big Ears without thinking. With a silly smile on his face, Do-hyuk first apologizes for calling him that, and then asks if he's okay considering how hard he fell earlier. Do-hyuk then reaches out to the thing that Jagel Min dropped, suddenly realizing that it's a knife. Before he could even properly pass it back to him, Jagel suddenly takes the knife packet from his hands and tells him not to worry about it. Jagel runs off from him, holding the knife packet close to him, while apologizing how he ran into him because he wasn't looking. Letting out a sigh looking Jagel's way, he says that Jagel is a totally different person now, in a different time, saying how it's a connection that won't happen in this life. Suddenly realizing something, he turns to look at the running Jagel. A fist suddenly hits Jagel's face, pushing him back. The person who punched Jagel was Minsu. A lackey of Minsu's asks if he's okay, spitting curses. He asks Jagel if he just tried to fight back. He then starts to furiously kick at Jagel, calling a slave and asking him how he even dared to pick up a knife against him. With one of his lackeys, putting his hands on his shoulder, tells Minsu to stop else he might end up killing him. Minsu then pushes his hand off of his shoulder, shouting out that he'll take care of it himself. Minsu then pulls Jagel up by his hair. Calling him a slave, Minsu speaks while gritting his teeth. With a murderous look visible in his eyes, he says that this is what happens when one disobeys him. One of his lackeys suddenly notices someone walking to where they are and tells him to walk away if he doesn't want to see something ugly. He's cut off in between his words with a punch from that man. It's Do-hyuk. He walks towards Jagel while saying that he's freakishly fast for a short-legged punk, while one of Minsu's lacket falls to the ground on his knees. Suddenly a huge fat person dashes towards Do-hyuk. Using his momentum against him, Do-hyuk easily throws him off the ground. Scared by this mysterious man's sudden arrival, Minsu swears and asks him who he is. Pointing at himself, Do-hyuk says that he's just Jagel's former leader passing through. Seeing Do-hyuk, Jagel realizes that it's the guy he accidentally crashed onto while coming out of the convenience store. Minsu stutters a bit after hearing the world leader and asks him if he's with the three-way crew. With a punch to his face, Do-hyuk says that he's from Stray Dogs. Minsu then asks if that means he's from Yongsan. He then asks if he's with Yongpal Hyung. Punching him again, he doesn't know any Yongpal. While they both continue with their conversation X-fight, Jagel looks the fight happening in front of him with surprise. After having beaten him to a pulp, Jagel looks at Do-hyuk's back and thinks to himself that he looks so cool, and he want to be just like him, strong. Logging into the game, arriving at the lobby, Do-hyuk speaks to himself, saying as how he got chewed out by Jian for showing up late cause of that idiot, Jagel Min. He then remembers how clingy Jagel was being after the fight, how he begged Do-hyuk to take him as his disciple, and Jian misunderstanding Do-hyuk for cursing at her while he was just cursing at Jagel Min. He says how he had to jump through hoops and convincing Jian that it was just a misunderstanding. Clenching his fist, Do-hyuk says that if Big Ears is in this timeline, then his other teammates should be here too, while asking himself if he should go look for them or not. After a moment of silence, he decides he should just focus on his current mess first. He then says that he needs to first pay off the debt he's drowning in. He then asks Computer to open up the chat window, deciding to make some cash first, to which Computer replies with that the chat window is opening. The viewers start swarming in as soon as Do-hyuk starts his stream. He welcomes everyone with a big smile on his face. A viewer then says how Do-hyuk wasn't able to make No1 yesterday, to which Do-hyuk says that he did make it to second place on Twerk's trending clips. The viewers then start discussing about the fight between Anatole and God. While saying how can no one rewatch when Anatole got his head smashes in, hearing about all those Do-hyuk acts confused. Hearing about it, Do-hyuk gets curious and looks up for the video of that fight before he hops into Valhalla. Seeing the word ramen, Do-hyuk realizes something. Pointing at the fighter with a silly face, Do-hyuk says if that isn't him, hearing that all the viewers seem confused. A viewer then mentions how that user just bought Ulti Fight 3 days, hearing that Do-hyuk decides to show them his Ulti Fight playtime. He then shows off his record, pointing towards it, saying that it's real. Saying now that it's been confirmed, Do-hyuk says it's about time they start Valhalla. With the viewer's comment saying that Do Hyuk's about to play Valhalla instead of Ulti Fight, he asks the viewers if they were not here for Valhalla. Several missions pop up for Do Hyuk, being doing a 24-hour Ulti Fight stream and reach rank 1 within 24 hours in Ulti Fight. Surprised by his viewers, Do Hyuk says how all these missions combined are already over 1,000,001. With greed totally visible in his eyes, Do Hyuk cheesily says how he's been much Ulti Fight so much today. And so Do Hyuk launches Ulti Fight to play for today's streaming. A man suddenly bangs his hand on his desk, saying how annoying he's getting seeing his viewers' comments saying that it's Beyond, who destroyed Anatole using Hoken. Swearingly, he says that it's not him. Pointing his finger at him, he says that if it were him, why would he even hide it? He'd rather stream it and rake in views. This person is Beyond, former Ulti Fight pro gamer and current Iron Fist pro gamer. Another viewer's comment saying that God's identity has been confirmed, and he's not a former pro. It's just a twerk streamer. To which Beyond says that it's as he said, it wasn't him. A viewer then says how Anatole thought that God would be an easy defeat, but then he got wrecked. To that Beyond replies that Anatole might have gotten rusty after returning to Ulti Fight after a year. Beyond then gets into his capsule and tells Computer to start Ulti Fight matchmaking. Computer suddenly replies with that a match has been found, and the person to be fighting against him is God. Clearly excited from getting to fight God. Right from the beginning, Beyond speaks to himself saying that he'll show him what he's got. Beyond then arrives at the arena in an heroic pose. Trying to act charmingly, Beyond says to make way for the OG Hoken Master. He then points at Do Hyuk, asking him if he's the rising star god. Turning to his viewers while pointing at Beyond, Do Hyuk says that his opponent looks pretty famous, to which Do Hyuk's viewers say that there was a time when Beyond actually best Anatole. The viewers say that if Anatole was the one who brought Hoken to transcendent status, then Beyond's the one who won most tournaments with Hoken, and people nowadays call him Hoken's rightful heir. And so their fight starts, and Do Hyuk decides to attack first. He dashes towards Beyond. Do Hyuk decides to go with punch first, which Beyond easily dodges while thinking to himself that this is just as he thought of his opponent to open with aggressive pressure. Do Hyuk then throws a light hook. After that, he throws a swarm of punches Beyond's way, which Beyond dodges easily, while thinking to himself how Do Hyuk fights by instinct, mixing up his moves however he feels like. While dodging, blocking, and parrying Do Hyuk's every attacks, Beyond makes a remark to himself that it's like he looking at himself on one of his off-the-rails days. Beyond calls out how fierce Do Hyuk's offense is while blocking his reverse kick. Finally, yet slowly getting pushed back during his fight against Do Hyuk, Beyond realizes that too, and thinks that it's about time to use that secret move he saved for Anatole on Do Hyuk. Moving forward, about to punch, Do Hyuk hits Beyond's fist down. Beyond the uses the move he saved up for Anatole, this move is Rebound Step, Burning Crescent Wave, and suddenly a large wave of fire pushes Do Hyuk back. Bursting the flames beneath his foot, he increases his dashing speed and launches towards Do Hyuk with a grin forming on his face. Calling it his ultimate move, Burning Crescent Spear, he lunges forward towards Do Hyuk in the shape of a spearhead, with Do Hyuk in front of him. And suddenly a huge blast occurs. The viewers continue to shower Beyond with praise for him adding the Burning Crescent Kick's dash power into Burning Crescent Fist, while also adding rotational force by micro-controlling Burning Crescent Kick, all while Beyond stays there on his one knee, holding onto his bleeding hand. Taking his hand off from the wounded part of his arm, Beyond thinks to himself, and speaks as to how he can only use it once per match because of the recoil on this move. As he's just about to say that he wins, Do Hyuk suddenly appears behind him, standing on the top of the broken floor. Seeing that, the viewers suddenly notify him of that. Listening to their words, he turns behind and looks up. Do Hyuk comes slamming down at the ground with his blazing fist, which Beyond instinctively dodges. Getting back into his fighting stance, Beyond asks how he's still standing even after receiving that attack of his. Clenching his fist, Do Hyuk says that thanks to that attack he has learned something good, boosted versus unboosted, and then Rebound Step into Crimson Flame Wave. Shocked by hearing what Do Hyuk just said, Beyond mentions how he spent months on trying to develop that move, just to hear that Do Hyuk copied just after seeing it once. Do Hyuk says how it wasn't that hard to copy, and then he goes on how he first neutralized his spear attack with a Crimson Flame Wave. He continues. After doing that, he then used the recoil from Burning Crescent Kick to teleport. Confused hearing all that, Beyond says that it doesn't make sense and tells him to say something that would. Pointing at the wound on his arm, he says that Do Hyuk can't just ignore the explosion damage when the flame detonates, and that every time one detonates a crimson flame, the recoil shreds the affected area. Then looking at Do Hyuk, he says that he doesn't even have a scratch on him, and what sort of tricks did he play to come out unscathed? With a simple demonstration, Do-hyuk says how one can just pull their hand back before the explosion hits. Hearing such a simpleton-like answer, Beyond thinks to himself about what type of bullshit did Do-hyuk just spout. Do-hyuk snickers a bit while thinking back about the days in the last life, when they used to dare each other to stick their hands in a giant crocodile monster's mouths and lost a lot of fingers that way. Throwing up a bunch of punches into the air, Do-hyuk once again demonstrates on how to pull it back before it connects as Beyond stands there cluelessly looking at Do-hyuk. With a grin forming on his face while pulling his hand back into a punch, Do-hyuk says that watching Beyond's game gave him some inspiration as well, and asks him if he'd want to fight another round with Do-hyuk right away.